Hello and welcome to Game 3 of this Old Dominion Athletic Conference semifinal series between the Lynchburg Hornets and the Bridgewater Eagles here on the Lynchburg Hornets Sports Network. Rob Lau here with you from Fox Field in Lynchburg as we determine who is going to join Shenandoah in the championship series next weekend here for the Old Dominion Athletic Conference. Lynchburg coming in at 31-12, Bridgewater at 14-14 so far this season. Yesterday, a split of the doubleheader, which forced this decisive Game 3. Lynchburg came out firing yesterday in Game 1, 14-0 win over Bridgewater in the opener, a complete game shutout for Zach Potts to lead the Hornets in that contest. Game 2 looked like it was off to a similar start, with Lynchburg getting a 3-0 early lead, but Bridgewater scored 5 in the third and never looked back. An 8-5 victory. The Hornets were able to get the tying run to the plate in the bottom of the ninth, or in the top of the ninth, but could not tie it up. And so here we are, a decisive Game 3 between these two clubs. Starting pitcher for Lynchburg this afternoon, southpaw Jack Batchmore, 5-0 with a 2.49 ERA, a sophomore left-hander out of Alexandria, Virginia. He'll be facing this Bridgewater lineup. Leading off is the left fielder Jarrett Biesecker. At first base and batting second is Brett Tharp. Shortstop will bat third, Jeffrey Snyder. Cleaning up as second baseman, Kevin Nevado. DH, Brandon Hartman in the 5 spot. Kyle Carlson in the 6 spot. He will play third base. In center field and batting 7th is Jacob Grable. Right fielder Hunter Clever bats 8th, and catching is Tanner Montgomery. He's in the 9th spot for Coach Ben Spots and the Bridgewater College Eagles, the number 6 seed for this tournament. And the first pitch of the afternoon is a little bit upstairs to Jarrett Biesecker, hitting .388 this season for Bridgewater. There's the first strike of the afternoon from the lefty Jack Batchmore. As I mentioned, 5-0 with a 2.49 ERA. Only a couple of starts for the sophomore lefty this year, mostly used in a relief role. And slashed out of play, fouled on the left field line. A ball and 2 strikes now on Biesecker. Batchmore in his most recent outing got the victory over Washington and Lee last weekend in one of the games of that doubleheader sweep by Lynchburg in the first round of the tournament. Another foul off the bat of Biesecker there. Batchmore in that outing, 5 innings, 6 hits, 4 runs, just 2 of them earned, 1 walk and 6 strikeouts. Another 1-2 pitch is bounced back up the middle. Looked like Batchmore might have gotten a piece of it. Didn't slow it down enough for it to get to the shortstop long in time. And 1 up and 1 down here in the top of the first. Checking the rest of the Lynchburg defense this afternoon in the outfield from left to right. It is Avery Neves, Kinston Carson, and Parker Schaefer. On the infield, third baseman is Gavin Collins. Ryan Long, who made that play, is at short. PJ Alvanos at second. Garrett Jackson at first, and Holden Fiedler forming the battery with Batchmore here this afternoon as Brett Tharp, the first baseman, a junior out of Baker, West Virginia, takes a called strike. Batchmore's 0-1, showing bunt, and then having to duck out of the way is Tharp, hitting .308 so far this season. Went 2 for 5, scored twice, and drove in a run in the 8-5 Bridgewater win in Game 2, which forced this Game 3 yesterday afternoon. And showing bunt. That one was close, but not giving calls the home plate umpire. 2 balls and a strike. Over at third base, Gavin Collins in on the edge of the grass, guarding against a potential bunt from Tharp. We'll see if he's again showing here on 2-1. He is not. He's ahead in the count now. 3 balls and a strike. .271 average for Bridgewater collectively this season. They're averaging 5.7 runs per game, 14-14. But 9-6 on the road. They've been good on their travels as that one misses wide. And we have our first base runner of the afternoon. A 1-out walk to the first baseman, Tharp. He is one of the Eagles who the Hornets will have to keep a watch on over at first base. He's 10 out of 11 trying to steal so far this season as the shortstop Snyder digs in. Jeffrey Snyder hitting .330 with a .435 on base percentage this season for Bridgewater, as drawing a throw right away is Tharp. Lynchburg, coming into this weekend series, had lost just one home game, but did suffer their second home defeat of the season in the second game of yesterday's twin bill, as Hatchmore again misses upstairs. 5 of the last 6 out of the zone after getting the leadoff hitter Biesecker to ground out to short to begin the afternoon's proceedings. SDRA in the ODAC this year for Lynchburg as a staff, 3.39 ERA. They actually ended up leading the league in strikeouts both offensively and defensively, as they pitched the most strikeouts and had the most batters struck out at the plate. Another one up and away. 2 balls and no strikes to Snyder. 1 home run, 16 RBIs. He's another one, if he gets on base, is going to be a major threat to run. He's 3rd in the conference with 17 swipes so far this season. Hatchmore's 2-0. Gets a called strike. Had some rain earlier in the day here in Lynchburg, but has finally cleared out. Temperature hovering right around 60 degrees on this mid-May Sunday afternoon. Drawing another throw is Tharp. Garrett Jackson over there holding on with the base runner, trying to keep him close. Bell tie set. Another throw over. During the regular season, these 2 teams played twice here in Lynchburg, and the Hornets got the better of the Eagles both times back exactly 2 weeks ago. 17-1 and 12-1 were the finals of those games, and had a 14-0 win yesterday to Lynchburg in the first game of the series. It's now 3-1 on Snyder. The runner bluffed over at first, but decided to hold up. It's another reason what made the second game of yesterday's doubleheader so surprising, as Lynchburg had no problems at all with Bridgewater in the first 3 meetings of this year. 3-1 pitch, a little bit upstairs. Snyder stayed in the box just to make sure it was ball 4. It is, in fact, back-to-back walks now issued by Lynchburg sophomore left-hander Jack Batchmore. And so Bridgewater with a early threat, first and second, 1 out for their cleanup hitting second baseman Kevin Nevedo. 286 average, 385 on base, as we get a little conference at the mound. The catcher Fiedler and the second baseman Alvanos coming to chat with Batchmore. Alvanos has gone back to his second base spot. Now the home plate umpire will trot out to the mound, well, at least get halfway to the mound before the conversation between pitcher and catcher breaks up. And the winner of this game advances to the championship series next weekend against Shenandoah, who has already booked their place in the championship round next weekend, as Batchmore will spin and look back to second. No throw, but he steps off. Shenandoah, the 4 seed, awaiting either the 2-seeded Lynchburg Hornets or the 6-seeded Bridgewater Eagles. What will be the championship series next weekend for the Old Dominion Athletic Conference. Beto digs in. Batchmore deals. Good block there by the catcher, Fiedler. Keeping the runners where they are, stationed at first and second. Snyder at first, Tharp at second, each drawing a walk after the leadoff hitter was retired on a bounce out. Here, just underway in the top of the first. Glad you're along with us here on LHSN for the decisive Game 3 of this semifinal series. Batchmore fires. Gets a called strike on the outer part of the plate. Lynchburg went 18-4 during the regular season in conference play, tying for first, but lost out on the #1 seed due to a tiebreaker. Preseason picked third in the conference. Bridgewater ended up being right around where they were projected to finish. They were projected to finish 7th, ended up finishing 6th during the regular year. Ashmore checks the runner and fires. That one's a strike on the inner part of the plate, and now he's ahead in the count, 1 ball and 2 strikes. Runner breaks for second, and now all of a sudden a ball gets away. 1 run scores, and stopping at third is Snyder, but Tharp scores all the way from second. He broke late from second to third. And the throw down ended up going down the left field line. And Bridgewater scores first. They have another run at third with just 1 out. Hatchmore is ahead in the count. Infield comes in all the way around, trying to prevent the Eagles from getting another on a ground ball in the infield. One, two. High chopper to short. Long's got it fired to the plate, and they will get the out there as the infield in alignment works out for the Lynchburg Hornets to get the lead runner there on the fielder's choice. Out 6-2, so Nevado reaches on the fielder's choice. He's at first with 2 down as the designated hitter, Brandon Hartman, will now dig in for Bridgewater. First time in this series that Bridgewater has scored first. Lynchburg was the only team to score in Game 1 of that 14-0 win. And they had a 3-0 lead in Game 2. The big difference, a 5-run third inning yesterday for the Eagles, as they eventually won 8-5. They even up this series at a game apiece. First pitch called a strike. It's Hartman hitting .286. Hartman yesterday driving in 3 runs in the second game of the doubleheader. Overall, 3 for 7 on the day. Yeah, that big 3-run double is a part of that 5-run inning. Just missing. Fiedler held it there for an extra beat, trying to get the call. Instead, it evens the count at a ball and a strike. One on the way. Upstairs, 2 balls and a strike. So a throwing error of the pitcher, allowing the run to score here in the top of the first inning after a delayed steal. All right, Bridgewater, this one is knocked the other way into right field. That's a base hit just over the outstretched glove of the first baseman, Jackson. Going first to third is Nevado. So Brandon Hartman has now picked up at least 1 hit in all 3 games of this weekend series. He stays hot. And Bridgewater continuing to threaten now with runners on the corners and 2 outs here in the top of the first. Already 1 run in for the visiting Eagles. Keeps the inning going for the third baseman, Kyle Carlson. Checks in, hitting .196 so far this year. Carlson, a freshman out of Chesapeake, Virginia, Western Branch High School. Got another righty in this lineup against the left-handed starter, Batchmore, who pours in a strike. Batchmore, as I mentioned, just 2 starts so far this season. His most recent start came on April 21st. We went 6 scoreless against Virginia Wesleyan in a victory. It was in strike 2, but even though it has been nearly a month since his last start. Like I mentioned earlier, he did go 5 last weekend in relief as he picked up a win over Washington and Lee, the first game of that series. That's how Lynchburg got here, knocking out Washington and Lee with 12-8 and 12-5 victories last Saturday, knocking the 7th seed out of the tournament. Strike 2 pitch on the way. Not interested in going after the high heat. That time was Carlson, a ball and 2 strikes. These two teams meeting for the 63rd time since 1996. Bridgewater with a 37-28 lead with 1 game finishing tied as this one is cut on and missed. And Batchmore avoids further damage. But Bridgewater gets a run across, and after half an inning, they have a 1-0 lead here on Lynchburg Hornets Sports Network. Bridgewater with a run in the top of the first. Now the Lynchburg Hornets coming to bat for the first time in the bottom of the first. Leading off will be the right fielder Parker Schaefer. Be followed in the lineup by the first baseman Garrett Jackson and the center fielder Kinston Carson will conclude the 3 due up here in the bottom of the first against right-hander Reed Long. It's the starting nod for Bridgewater. Came out of the bullpen in game 1 yesterday, and his first pitch just misses. 1 ball and no strikes. Rest of the batting order for Lynchburg, we'll get that to you in a moment. For head coach Lucas Jones in his 4th season with the Hornets. Ball and a strike. Jones named the Coach of the Year in the conference. First time he has received that honor since taking over the helm of his alma mater. Here's the 1-1 pitch. Grabs the outside corner. A ball and 2 strikes on Schaefer, hitting .282 with a .361 on base, the right fielder. Reed Long, a freshman right-hander, 6 foot 185 out of Chesapeake, Virginia. Was grounded back up the middle, and shortstop Jeffrey Snyder will make the play, ranging well up the middle to make the play. 1 out. I'll bring up the first baseman Garrett Jackson. Here's the rest of the order for Lynchburg. Beyond Jackson, we'll have the center fielder Kinston Carson. Cleaning up is Avery Neves. He's out in left field. DH Cameron Lane in the 5 spot. Gavin Collins at third base. He hits 6th. Bottom 3 of second baseman PJ Alvanos, catcher Holden Fiedler, and the shortstop Ryan Long. That's the starting lineup for Lucas Jones. So 1 up and 1 down for Reed Long, and he pours in a strike to Garrett Jackson. 279 for Jackson this season. 26 walks, 6 most in the conference for a 382 on-base percentage. He's homered 8 times, driven in 35. He comes up empty with that swing and falls behind the count, 0-2. Long yesterday worked an inning in relief in game 1, which Lynchburg won 14-0. Won an inning, gave up 1 run on 1 hit, and struck out 1. And he strikes out 1 here, as on 3 pitches he strikes out Garrett Jackson. So quickly 2 outs here for Bridgewater in the bottom of the first, and that'll leave it up to the center fielder, Kinston Carson. Carson on the season hitting .342 with a .447 on base. Working out of the stretch exclusively as Long. Just missed with his first offering to Carson. This Lynchburg offense, .288 average, 5th in the conference. .412 on base, averaging 9 runs a game. They score double digits with regularity. Now 1-1, as taking a strike is the center fielder Carson. He's been a fantastic 2-way player for the Hornets all season long. 3 home runs, 39 runs batted in at the plate. 1-1 his way. Leads it upstairs, 2 balls and a strike. One of several Lynchburg players to be selected to the All-ODAC first team late last week. Takes one a little bit low and inside. Now 3 balls and a strike. Bridgewater getting a run in the top of the first, thanks in part to a couple walks, a stolen base, and a throwing error by Lynchburg. And now Long trying to deliver a 1-2-3 inning to get his offense right back out there, but he's unable to do so as his 3-1 pitch is outside, and it's a 2-out free pass to Carson. Mentioned moments ago that he's in the top 10 in the conference in walks drawn, and there's number 27 for Carson, and that keeps the inning alive for one of the most dangerous, if not the most dangerous hitters in all of the conference, the left fielder Avery Neves. 401 average, 10 homers, and a league-high 67 runs batted in this season. No one else is particularly close to him in the RBI category throughout the Old Dominion Athletic Conference. He's got a 2-out runner over at first base here. Long delivers, a first pitch strike. Lynchburg during the regular season and into the conference tournament as well has stolen plenty of bases, 103 steals, by far the most in the conference. And that is why, drawing a throw over at first base, is Carson. He himself tied for 4th in the conference with 16 steals in 21 attempts this year. 103 steals are more than 30 more than the next highest, Randolph Macon, with the 2nd most steals in the conference, but they're down at 69. So Lynchburg lapping the field in terms of stolen bases during this 2021 season. Large part of the offensive success the Hornets have enjoyed here this year. Neves lines one back up the middle, and it's caught by the second baseman, PJ Alvanos. So that one was hit hard by, or rather Kevin Nevedo, I should say. Nevedo with the catch, and the 2-out walk doesn't hurt. We've played 1-0 Bridgewater on the Lynchburg Hornets Sports Network. Jacob Graybill swings and misses at the first pitch of this second inning. And the strike one pitch misses from Jack Batchmore. 1 ball and 1 strike. Bridgewater with a run in the first. Thanks in part to a couple of walks, stolen base, and a Lynchburg throwing error, as that one backs him off the plate. 2 balls and a strike. Batchmore did a good job, though, recovering from that error after giving up a 2-out single that put runners in the corners. He got an in-ending strikeout. He's pulling back a bunt and taking a called strike on the outer edge is Jacob Graybill, hitting .240 on the year, .353 on base percentage for the Bridgewater center fielder. Fouls that one away. 2 balls and 2 strikes. A senior out of Gordonsville, Virginia, is Jacob Graybill. Hoping that this is not his last game as a collegian. Another 2-2. Swing and a miss on one in the dirt. Throw down to first will be in time. As that one got away from the catcher Fiedler, but he was able to recover and fire to Jackson in time. Second consecutive strikeout for Batchmore. And the leadoff man retired here in the Bridgewater second. Brings up the Eagles right fielder, Hunter Clever, is hitting .282. 1 homer, 12 runs batted in this season. Fouls that one straight back into the screen. Strike 1. To get to this point, Bridgewater is 14-14 overall. Last week, an upset in the first round of the conference tournament, as that one's fouled back as well. Strike 2. The 6-seeded Eagles knocking off number 3 seed Roanoke 4-3 and 6-4 last Saturday. So they have already knocked off one team seated higher than them in this conference tournament and trying to do it again here this weekend. It's the 2nd seeded Lynchburg Hornets. Strike 2 pitch. Bounced foul down the third base side. We'll do it again. Lynchburg, after winning the first game yesterday, had won 9 in a row. That, of course, being snapped with the 8-5 Bridgewater win in the second half of that twin bill. Swing and a miss. Down goes Hunter Clever. That's 3 strikeouts in a row now, all swinging for Batchmore, who seems like he is now settled in after giving up a couple of walks and a single in that opening inning. And with 2 down, it's up to the number 9 hitter, Tanner Montgomery, the catcher, playing in his 8th game this season, looking for his first hit at the plate. He is 0 for 19. He has drawn 3 walks. He takes a strike here. 0-1. Montgomery, a senior out of Akron, Ohio. Batchmore working quickly, and he gets ahead 0-2 as he hits the outer edge. So Batchmore is a strike away from striking out the side here in the top of the second inning. Here comes his 0-2 pitch, and he gets it. Off speed, had him out in front, so Batchmore strikes out the side in a 1-2-3 second. Through an inning and a half, though Bridgewater leads it 1-0 here on LHSN. Cameron Lane will lead things off for Lynchburg as we go to the bottom of the second. 1-0 Bridgewater on top in this decisive Game 3 of this semifinal series. The winner advancing to next weekend's championship series against number 4 seed Shenandoah. Number 1 seed and 3 seed knocked out last weekend, and Lynchburg being the number 2 seed, highest seed left, but forced into a decisive Game 3 by the 6 seed Bridgewater this weekend as the first pitch of the second inning from Reed Long is called a strike. Lane hitting .284. He's the Hornets' designated hitter, a junior out of Manassas, Virginia. Here's the strike one offering. Swings through it for strike two. Defensively for Bridgewater in the outfield from left to right, it's Jarrett Biesecker, Jacob Grable, and Hunter Clever. On the infield, Kyle Carlson is at third, Jeffrey Snyder at short, Kevin Nevado at second, Brett Tharp at first, and forming the battery with Long is the catcher Tanner Montgomery as this one misses. A ball and 2 strikes. Five, 6, and 7 for Lynchburg here in the second. Lane, Collins, and Alvanos. It's Reed Long in his second inning of work. A 1-2 pitch, just getting a piece. Is Lane to stay alive. Long, the freshman right-hander, 5 appearances coming into today. 2 starts, 1-0 record, a .338 ERA, and 10 2/3. Struck out 5. Misses there. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Gave up a 2-out walk to Carson in the first. Was able to work around it. Avery Neves had a line drive back up the middle. The 2 outs in the inning, but that one was snared by Nevado, the second baseman, to end the threat. Chopper to the right side. And close play at first and safe. Is Lane. Tharp, the first baseman, was well off the first base bag, so he had to flip to the pitcher Long covering and just couldn't quite get it to first in time. And the leadoff man is aboard for the first time for either team today. Lane aboard for the third baseman Gavin Collins, who will dig in for his first at-bat of the afternoon. Collins was 2 for 7 yesterday in the doubleheader. First offering his way. Breaking ball drops in there for a strike. Already an error on both sides now, as first baseman Tharp had to go deep behind the base at first to try and field that one. Could not come up with it cleanly, and that cost the Eagles. As the runner goes, throw down is not going to be in time as Cameron Lane stays perfect on the base paths. 9 for 9 now, stealing bases. Pitch was a strike to Collins, so he's in a 0-2 hole here. And coming out of the first base dugout is the Bridgewater head coach, Ben Spots, chatting with one of the umpires. Home plate umpire interested in the conversation as well. And Spots has at least gotten enough of a good explanation where he is satisfied to go back to his dugout. Not sure if what he was asking for worked. But he heads back to the dugout, and Lynchburg has a runner in scoring position for the first time this afternoon after an error and now a stolen base. 0-2 the count on Collins, and he comes up empty. Like fishing for one down and out of the zone. Second strikeout for Reed Long. The freshman will will now face second baseman P.J. Alvanos, .294 average for Lynchburg this season. Alvanos, a junior out of Annapolis, Maryland. .623 ERA for Bridgewater as a team this year. That's 6th in the conference. Trying to hold down one of the best offenses in the league here in Lynchburg. Now misses outside to Alvanos. 9 runs a game for these Hornets this season. And they had scored double digits each of the 3 times they had played Bridgewater this season until game 2 yesterday when they put up 5. Alvanos now gets ahead in the count. 2 balls and no strikes as he takes one downstairs. Lynchburg, 2 base runners so far, but neither has come on a hit. They had a walk in the first and then the error this inning that allowed Lane to reach. He then stole second. 2-0 on Alvanos. Checks the runner and fires. A strike does long to make it 2-1. Lynchburg sweeping 7th seed Washington and Lee last week, 12-8 and 12-5 to get here. So both teams needing just 2 games in the first round to get to this semifinal series. Long's 2-1 pitch on the way. And now it's 3-1 on Alvanos. It's the count clearly in his favor. Bridgewater 37-28-1 against Lynchburg Alts since 1996, but Lynchburg has had the upper hand of late, winning 8 of the last 12. Yesterday was just the second time that Lynchburg had beaten Bridgewater in the postseason. The Eagles a commanding 8-2 lead in postseason action between these 2 teams. As that ends up being the second walk issued by Reed Long, as Alvanos is aboard on 5 pitches. So now 2 on with 1 out. And the catcher Holden Fiedler will dig in for the Hornets. Bridgewater with a run in the first. Lynchburg trying to answer here in their half of the second. That one's tapped foul back behind home plate for strike 1. Fiedler on the year hitting .283 with a .387 on base percentage. He's driven in 14. He's got Lane at second and Alvanos at first here. Those are the runners for Lynchburg. Down and away, a ball and a strike. Yesterday, Fiedler went 0 for 5 and did drive in a run in the first game. Did not get the start behind the plate in the second game. Did eventually come in as a defensive replacement late in the contest, but did not receive an at-bat in game 2. Here's the strike 1 pitch. That misses high, a ball and a strike. Did go 2 for 5 with 2 runs scored when these 2 teams met a couple weeks ago during the regular season, did Fiedler. Lynchburg winning those 2 games 17-1 and 12-1. 2-1 on the way. That one's drilled back foul to even the count at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Lane reached to start the inning on an error by the first baseman Tharp, stole second. While Collins was up, he struck out. And then Alvanos drawing a 5-pitch walk. So Lynchburg got their 2 base runners here in the second, and now Fiedler trying to come up with a game-tying hit here early. Here's the 2-2. Reaches out and flies it out into shallow right, and again towards the line and making the catch is the right fielder Clever for out number 2. Runners have to stay put. And it'll now take a 2-out hit from the shortstop, Ryan Long, to keep things going for Lynchburg as they try to erase the slight early deficit against the righty Reed Long and the upset-minded Bridgewater Eagles. Again, they came in as the 6th seed in the tournament. Lost by double digits both times to Lynchburg during the regular season and in Game 1 yesterday, but fought back to win Game 2 yesterday and have the early lead here in Game 3 today. Long's first pitch is a little bit upstairs, maybe a twinge inside as well to the shortstop. Long is hitting .271 on the year. Drew a walk yesterday, but 0 for 7 otherwise. That one splits the plate. Ball and a strike now on the right-handed hitting shortstop, Ryan Long, freshman out of Virginia Beach, trying to come up with a 2-out knock for Lynchburg here in the bottom of the second to even things up. Reed Long, 1-1 pitch. Ryan Long takes it down and away, 2 balls and a strike. Have to think that both starting pitchers have short leashes today, with this being a winner-go-home scenario. And the winner take all Game 3. Pitch on the way. Strike right at the knees. 2 balls and 2 strikes now on Ryan Long. Playing with good speed out at second. Picked up his 9th steal earlier this inning. Have to believe that base hit to the outfield. Hornets will try and bring him around. Long trying to pitch around the air and the walk. 2-2 delivery. Do it again. It's fouled away by the Hornets shortstop. Again, it rained pretty significantly earlier in the day, pushing the start time from 2 o'clock to 3:15, but as it's cleared out now, temperature hovering around 60 degrees. Another 2-2 pitch on the way. Just missed. 1 or 2 of the Eagles fielders looked like they might have taken a step or 2 toward their dugout, thinking that was the end of the inning, but instead full count, and that'll give the runners a head start at first and second with 3-2 count and 2 away. Both can get healthy leads as well before they take off. One last check on the runner. For Long, there they go. Cut on and missed, and Reed Long pitches out of the jam as he strikes out Ryan Long. 3 strikeouts for the freshman right-hander so far through 2. And the Eagles have a 1-0 lead as we go to the third on LHSN. Top of the order, due up for Bridgewater here in the top of the third. They hold a 1-0 lead in this decisive game 3 of this conference tournament semifinal series. Back to work goes Jake Batchmore, and he delivers a strike. Besecker 0 for 1 today. He bounced to short his first time up. Here's the 0-1. Bounces it to the right side this time, and that one will find the outfield grass. Leadoff single. Start the third inning. A wide turn for Besecker over at first, but he stays there. Second hit of the afternoon for Bridgewater. They had a 2-out single in that opening inning. Brings up the first baseman, Brett Tharp. He reached on a walk and has scored what to this point in the contest is the only run of the afternoon. Shows bunt and came up empty, strike one. Tharp stealing his 11th base of the season during that first at-bat. Kind of caught Lynchburg napping a little bit. A delayed steal to go from second to third. And then the throw was wild as he pulls back a bunt try here. And the wild throw allowed him to score. Not so far the only run of the game. Each team has left two base runners on in a different inning, with the opposing pitcher getting out of the jam with a strikeout. Besecker leading from first. Here's the 1-1. There's a bunt to the first base side. First baseman's got it. Tries to tag out the runner, and he does. So Jackson takes it himself. It's a successful sacrifice for Tharp. Move Besecker into scoring position. So he's at second, one away now here in the Bridgewater half of the third. Brings up the shortstop, Jeffrey Snyder. He also drew a walk his first time up back in the top of the first. He was left stranded over at third base. Or rather, he was thrown out, I should say, trying to score on a fielder's choice. Nevado, the on-deck hitter, grounded into a fielder's choice, and at third, Snyder tried to score on contact, but the infield being in, saved Lynchburg there. This one's dumped out into right field. That's going to be a base hit, and this is going to be another run for Bridgewater, as into score comes Besecker, going all the way to third, and in there standing up is Snyder. A line drive into right center field that Parker Schaefer could not cut off before it got to the wall. And it's 2-0 Bridgewater on the RBI triple by Snyder. And he is just one base away from extending the Bridgewater lead, as again, for the second time here in the early innings, Lynchburg brings the infield in as Nevado comes to the plate. He takes a strike on the outer part of the plate, 0-1. So Snyder picks up his 17th RBI of the season with a triple to extend the Eagles' lead to 2-0. This one's driven out into deep right center field. This one could be trouble. And that'll be extra bases again. Trotting home easily is Snyder, and Nevado is going to end up on third. And it's back-to-back triples to right center field by the Eagles' 3 and 4 hitters, Snyder and Nevado. 3-0 Eagles here in the top of the third. RBI number 31 for Nevado, and he's at third with still just one out in the frame for the DH, Hartman. So far this inning has been single, bunt, triple, triple for Bridgewater. 2 more runs in, and another run over at third. Batchmore misses upstairs with his first offering to Hartman. Is 1 for 1. He's singled to right. He had the only hit for Bridgewater through the first 2 innings of the afternoon. And now we're going to get a mound visit. Looks like the entire infield will be called in, join in on this conversation. Batchmore After giving up a single to start the inning, a successful sacrifice by Tharp got Biesecker to third, and then back-to-back triples to deep right center for Bridgewater. And now the first pitch to Hartman missed, prompting this mound visit. These two teams, the most successful in the Old Dominion Athletic Conference history in terms of titles. Eight for Lynchburg, second most. And Bridgewater with the most. They have 14. Meeting over. Infield remains in. It worked in the first. Didn't matter earlier this inning. Matchmore, 1-0 pitch. In there to even the count of the ball and a strike on Hartman, who, like I mentioned earlier, singled his first time up. Matchmore working from the third base side of the rubber, out of the stretch, kicks and fires and misses inside. 2 balls and a strike. 3 runs on 4 hits for Bridgewater. Lynchburg, no hits through 2 innings. Each team has made 1 defensive miscue. 2-1 pitch. That one's upstairs, and now it's 3-1 on Hartman. Carlson on deck. He struck out his first time up. Maybe trying to pitch around Hartman a little bit, with Carlson on deck hitting below 200 so far this season, and the fact that he struck out his first time up against Matchmore. Here's the 3-1. Went right after him, and he fouled it away. Full count. So there goes that theory of trying to pitch around the Bridgewater designated hitter, Brandon Hartman. Hartman, freshman out of Lumberton, New Jersey. Waiting on a 3-2 pitch. Here it comes. Lines it out into shallow right field. That one's going to fall in for a base hit. Going the opposite way to drive in a run again. Bridgewater Eagles, as Hartman drives in his 7th run of the season. He's now 2 for 2 with 2 singles to the opposite way. And Bridgewater, with a 3-run inning here, has extended their advantage to 4-0. And now Carlson with 1 on and 1 out. Digs in. As I mentioned, he's 0-4 with a strikeout. Matchmore, the first time through the order, got these bottom 4 to strike out, but he will not get the opportunity to face them again as Jones comes out from the dugout, brings the hook with him. And with 1 on and 1 out and 3 runs in for Bridgewater here in the third, Lynchburg will make a pitching change. While they do so, we will pause here on the Lynchburg Hornets Sports Network. have our first pitching change of the contest with one out here in the third. 4-0 Bridgewater. 3 runs so far in this inning. Michael Reiskind is the new pitcher for Lynchburg. 6 foot, 183-pound right-handed senior out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And he is on with 1 on and 1 out. Kyle Carlson at the plate. And the first pitch from Reiskind is in there for a strike. 0-1. 2 1/3 innings for the starter, Jack Batchmore. 5 hits, walked 2, and struck out 4 so far. 4 runs, although runner at first is also his responsibility. Upstairs from Reiskind, a ball and a strike. Bridgewater this inning had a leadoff single, bunted him over to second, then back-to-back RBI triples, followed by an RBI single. The runner was in motion there. It's tapped foul. A ball and 2 strikes now on Carlson, who struck out his first time up. That was against the starter, Batchmore. Did strike out 4 in a row, in fact. Carlson, Grable, Clever, and Montgomery, the bottom 4 in the order, all struck out the first time they faced him. This one's fouled off again by Carlson to keep the count at a ball and 2 strikes. Reiskind did not pitch yesterday for Lynchburg. As just getting a piece of it to stay alive is Carlson. Over at first is Hartman. He has not attempted a steal and has a pretty short lead over there at first. This one's grounded through the left side, a base hit. So new pitcher, but same result for Bridgewater as they pick up their 5th hit of the inning. Stopping at second is Hartman. And first and second, 1 out for the center fielder, Jacob Grable. Reiskind on the year, making his 8th appearance. He has a 2-1 record coming into today. 3.38 ERA and 13 1/3. He has allowed 13 hits, 8 runs, 5 of which were earned, walked 3, and struck out 8. And his first offering is a strike to Grable. Was 0 for 1 with a strikeout his first time up. 2 on with 1 out. 3 runs in for Bridgewater in the third to extend their lead to 4-0. And this after Lynchburg left 2 on in the last half inning. High chopper to third and just taking the out there and then firing it across. Gets away. That'll, being that Grable is safe at first, Carlson will scoot over to third. So Gavin Collins got the easy out over at third and was close to being able to make an inning-ending double play, but the throw bounced away from Jackson. And that's going to be the second error of the afternoon for Lynchburg. And that keeps the inning going for Hunter Clever, who's 0 for 1 with a strikeout. So runners in the corners with 2 outs now here in the Bridgewater half of the third inning. Reiskind delivers. Left that pitch up and out of the zone for ball 1. Got the ground ball he wanted. And the Hornets were able to get the lead runner, but the throwing error by Carlson keeps the double play from happening. Not sure if it would have been a double play or not. It was very close at first base had the throw been handled. Might have been just barely safe, but either way, inning continues for Bridgewater with Grable reaching on the fielder's choice and Carlson going from first to third after the throwing error. Here's the 1-1. Schemes the dirt, 2 balls and a strike now on Clever. Entered the day hitting .282. 1 home run. He's driven in 12, trying to keep third inning alive for Bridgewater. It's been a fruitful inning the last 2 days. They got 5 in the third yesterday to erase an early 3-0 deficit on their way to a Game 2 victory. That one's fouled back as the count now evens up at 2 balls and 2 strikes. And today, 3 runs so far in the third. Take a 1-0 lead and expand it to 4-0. They try to come back from a 1-0 series deficit. They're back against the wall 2 games in a row, trying to eliminate the highest seed remaining in this ODAC tournament. Number 4 seed Shenandoah has already advanced to next weekend. That one's inside and it hit him. Clever is hit by the pitch, and that is going to load the bases for Bridgewater with 2 outs here in the top of the third. 9-hitter Tanner Montgomery coming to the plate next for the Eagles as they send their 9th batter to the plate of the frame. So Carlson at third, Grable at second, and now Clever on first after the hit batter. Montgomery 0 for 1. He struck out swinging his first time up to end what was a 1-2-3 second inning for Jack Batchmore, who seemed like he had settled in after allowing a couple of walks and a hit in the opening inning and a run, as there's a strike from Reiskin. He struck out the next 4, but this inning was led off with a single, and other than the bunt, the next few batters he faced all got hits as well, and that signaled the end of his afternoon after 2 1/3. Time called. Montgomery briefly stepping out of the right-handed batter's box. Runners edging off. Strike 1 pitch. A little bit low. 1 ball and 1 strike. When we get to the bottom of the third, Lynchburg will have the top of their order due up and a little bit more work to do than was thought at the top of this inning when Bridgewater's lead was still 1-0. It is now 4. They're threatening for more. Fouled straight back. All in 2 strikes. Reiskin trying to strand the inherited base runner and pitch out of this bases loaded jam. One and 2 on Tanner Montgomery, 0 for 20 at the plate this season. Did not bite on the breaking ball, down and away. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Good job there by Holden Fiedler to keep it in front of him. As over at third base, Kyle Carlson was ready to race toward the plate if that got away from the Lynchburg backstop. Reiskin has what he wants and delivers. Another one low. Again, Fiedler having to block it. And so now a full count, and so the runners will be on the move here with a 3-2 count and 2 away here in this half inning. Advantage for the Eagles runners there. Here's the 3-2. There go the runners. All 4. So Reiskin walks in a run, and Bridgewater has their 4th tally of the inning. It's now 5-0, and the bases remain loaded as now Biesecker will get his 2nd at-bat of the inning. He led off with a single earlier this inning and scored the first of what so far has been a 4-run frame. Another mound visit and another pitching change. So Reiskin got 1 out, but he is unable to get out of the inning. And so with Bridgewater leading 5-0 and the bases loaded with 2 outs still here in the top of the third, we'll step aside again for another pitching change on the Lynchburg Hornet Sports Network. Senior left-hander Adam Doffelmeyer comes in for Lynchburg in a big spot. His team down 5-0 here in the top of the third, and the bases are loaded with 2 outs for the leadoff hitter for Bridgewater, Jared Biesecker, who led off this inning with a single and scored. So far, 4 runs in for Bridgewater to take what was a 1-0 advantage and make it 5. Rabel, Clever, and Montgomery, the runners from third to first. Doffelmeyer's first pitch. Swung on a miss for strike 1. Doffelmeyer, 5'9", 175. Senior out of Harrisonburg, Virginia. Transferred to Lynchburg from King in Tennessee. And on the year, a 2.60 ERA. This is his 18th appearance out of the bullpen. He's 3-0. Misses upstairs, a ball and a strike. So far this year, he's allowed 21 hits in 17 1/3. 11 runs, 5 of which have been earned, and 2-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio, 9 walks to 18 strikeouts. So this lefty, better than a strikeout per inning on the season. And he would certainly take a strikeout here to avoid further damage in this third inning. 1-1 pitch is fouled back. All in 2 strikes. Five hits in the inning for Lynchburg so far has led to 4 runs for the Bridgewater Eagles. And it could lead to more, but the base is full here, and their leadoff hitter at the plate. A 1-2 pitch. We'll do it again as Biesecker is able to foul another one off. In this inning, a couple of RBI triples for Bridgewater, Jeffrey Snyder and Kevin Nevado. Brandon Hartman has driven in a run with a single. And Tanner Montgomery, who's over at first, drew a bases-loaded walk to pick up his first RBI of the campaign. Long look in from Doffelmeyer. Another 1-2 on the way. Slow bouncer that'll go foul toward the third base dugout. Keep it at 1-2. For Doffelmeyer, this is his 3rd season with Lynchburg. I mentioned he was a transfer from King University in Bristol, Tennessee. Was just there for his freshman year in 2018. 21 total appearances out of the Lynchburg pen in his first 2 years as a Hornet. Trying to get out of a big spot here in the top of the third. Fires. Cut on and missed. A big strikeout there for he and the Lynchburg Hornets. And Bridgewater leaves the bases loaded, but they strike for 4 and lead 5-0 after 2.5 on LHSN. Bottom of the third. Lynchburg finding itself now in a 5-0 hole after Bridgewater pushed across 4 in the top half of this inning. The second straight game where Bridgewater has put up a crooked number in the third inning. They scored 5 in Game 2 yesterday to turn a 3-0 deficit into a 5-3 lead. The Eagles eventually won 8-5 to force this Game 3. And today, 4 runs in the third to expand their 1-0 lead to 5. Parker Schaefer leading things off for Lynchburg here in the bottom of the third, ahead in the count, 2 balls and no strikes. It's Schaefer, Jackson, Carson coming up. The top 3 in the Hornets order, trying to respond quickly. And still out there on the mound for the Eagles is the freshman Reed Long, who worked around an error and a walk last inning, as Lynchburg left a couple runners on base. It's popped up out into right center field, and that'll be hauled in by the center fielder, Jacob Grable. And Schaefer is now 0 for 2 so far today. 1 up and 1 down for Reed Long and the Eagles here in the bottom of the third. Bring up the first baseman, Garrett Jackson. He struck out his first time up. 1 of 3 strikeouts so far for Long through 2 1/3 innings of work. Also issued a couple of walks. 1 error has been made behind him. That has accounted for the Lynchburg base runners yet. Looking still for their first hit of the afternoon. Worked exclusively out of the stretch, even without runners on base. Situations like this one, as that one's grounded just foul outside of the bag on the third base side. A ball and a strike now on Jackson. Eight home runs, 35 runs batted in for Jackson, having a heck of a season at the plate. And you're checking the swing there, did not go around. He did go around. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Jackson, a junior out of Virginia Beach, weighing on a 1-2 pitch from Reed Long, is looking to strike him out for the second straight at bat. Here comes the 1-2. In the dirt, blocked by Montgomery, the catcher. 2 balls and 2 strikes. And this the decisive Game 3 of this semifinal series here in the ODAC tournament. 4-seed Shenandoah has already booked its place in next week's series, as this one's hammered by Jackson, but foul down the left field line to keep it at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Shenandoah beat the number 5 seed Hampton Sydney in their first series, winning that one in 3 to get to the championship series. This one's grounded off the mound and back up the middle. Base hit. And there's the first hit of the afternoon for the Hornets. A 1-out single here in the third by Garrett Jackson. But the Shenandoah Hornets, who, like I mentioned, are waiting the winner of this game. This weekend, they swept the 8-seed Eastern Mennonite. Eastern Mennonite had the first big upset of the tournament, as they lost Game 1 to the top seed Randolph-Macon, but then rallied to win the next 2 games to knock off the top seed in 3 last weekend. So that took the number 1 seed out of the equation, as Kinston Carson takes one downstairs for ball 1 to start off his second plate appearance. He walked back in the first inning. 1 of 2 walks drawn by Lynchburg so far in the first couple of innings against Long. Righty deals and catches the outer edge, a ball and a strike on the Hornets center fielder. This tournament has had several upsets so far. 8th seed being the 1 in the opening weekend. The 6-seeded Bridgewater Eagles knocking off 3-seed Roanoke in round 1. Here's the 1-1. Downstairs, 2 balls and a strike, and Bridgewater looking to make it 2 straight weekends, knocking off a seed higher than them, going on the road. and picking up wins. They are 9-6 on the road entering today. Have a 5-0 lead over a Lynchburg team that entered today 20-2 on their home turf here in 2021, with one of those two losses coming yesterday to these Eagles. Jackson drawing a throw. He's 9 for 10 in stolen bases this year, edging off of first, held on by Tharp. Kinston takes a strike to even out the count at 2 balls and 2 strikes. 1 in the first, 4 in the top half of this third for Bridgewater to get out to this 5-0 advantage. Two inside, and he hit him. So Kinston Carson gets aboard the painful way this time. And after the first batter was retired by Long, a Jackson single and a Carson hit by pitch. Have 2 Hornets on with 1 out here in the bottom of the third for possibly the most dangerous hitter in the ODAC, Avery Neves. And it causes a visit to the mound from the Bridgewater head coach Ben Spots. See if he, in fact, takes the ball away from Reed Long and goes to his bullpen, or if he lets the freshman hang in there. He's allowed just 1 hit, but he's issued 2 walks. He's hit 1 batter, and also 1 error made behind him. Long will stay in to face Neves, who lined out to second his first time up. 6th in the conference entering today with a .401 batting average. Also a .522 on base percentage, which was 3rd highest in the conference. Tied for the league lead in both doubles and triples. He's got 16 doubles and 7 triples on the year to go with 10 home runs and 67 runs batted in. Takes the first one downstairs for ball 1. 67 RBIs, most in the conference by a wide margin. Here's the 1-0. Swing and miss, back goes flying. It slipped right out of the hands of Lynchburg's cleanup hitter. Back towards the third base dugout. He'll walk over and retrieve it. But coming into today, he had 14 more runs batted in than the next closest ODAC hitter, Colby Martin of Shenandoah. And Keegan Wolford, also of Shenandoah, each have driven in 53 on the year. Those are the next closest hitters to his 67. Downstairs from Reed Long, 2 balls and a strike. Jackson at second. He singled. Carson at first. He was hit by a pitch. Lynchburg trying to answer the 4 runs that Bridgewater plated in the top of this inning. Go up 5-0. Here's the pitch outside, and now well in control of this count. Here's Neves, 3 balls and a strike. Cameron Lane, the designated hitter, waiting next. He reached on an error his first trip to the dish today. That was to start last inning. Stole second, but was left stranded there. Here comes the 3-1. Outside ball 4, and the Hornets have them loaded. As the 3rd walk that Reed Long has issued to the Hornets offense so far this afternoon. And the bases are loaded with 1 out for Cameron Lane, but he will be facing a different pitcher, as out to the mound again comes Coach Spots, points to the bullpen, and we will step aside for a moment as Lynchburg trails 5-0, but they have the bases loaded with 1 out here in the bottom of the 3rd on the Lynchburg Hornets Sports Network. 5-0 Bridgewater, but Lynchburg trying to do something about it. They have the bases loaded with 1 out in the bottom of the 3rd, and the new pitcher is on for the Bridgewater Eagles. Sophomore right-hander William Flanagan takes over, 6'2", 190 out of North Chesterfield, Virginia, Overhill High School. He'll be facing Cameron Lane. Flanagan's first offering. And this is why. Reed Long, the starter for Bridgewater, got the first out of this inning. He gave up a single to Jackson, hit Carson, and then walked Neves on 5 pitches. So he is done after 2 1/3. 1 hit allowed, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts, no runs yet, but he is responsible for all those runners on base. It's now 2-0 on Lane as he takes one just a bit low. Lane reached on an error his first time up by the first baseman, Tharp. Stole second and then was left stranded last inning. Lynchburg had 2 on last inning with 1 out, but weren't able to do anything with it. And then Bridgewater went ahead and scored 4 in the top of this inning to go up 5-0. Lynchburg trying to cut into that now. Here's the 2-0. Thought about going after it, didn't, and that's a called strike. Flanagan was the pitcher who came in and got the final out of the game, second game yesterday, to pick up his second save of the season. He struck out Elvanos, who represented the tying run at the plate. Bridgewater hung on for that 8-5 win to force this game 3. So cut and a miss. 2 balls and 2 strikes now on Cameron Lane. This season, Flanagan in 17 appearances is 3-1 with a couple of saves. A 3.06 ERA and 35 1/3. He's allowed 38 hits, 22 runs, 12 of which have been earned, 20 walks, and a team-high 52 strikeouts. Got a big strikeout in the ball game yesterday from Bridgewater. Can he get another one here? We'll wait a moment as time is called at the plate by Lane. Jackson, Carson, and Neves from 3rd to 1st on the base pass for the Hornets. And Lane at the plate with a 2-2 count on him and 1 away here in the bottom of the 3rd. Flanagan checks the runners and deals. Call of 3rd on the inside corner. Another big strikeout for Flanagan. He got 1 in the ball game yesterday. That's a huge second out here in the 3rd inning for the Eagles. And now the bases are loaded with 2 down with the 3rd baseman Gavin Collins, who struck out his first time up. So he's 0 for 1. What a huge spot it would be for Bridgewater to keep it at a 5-0 lead here. Flanagan delivers, and he gets a first pitch strike in there on Gavin Collins. 2 for 8 in the series now for Collins. Flanagan deals. A little bit downstairs, a ball and a strike. Flanagan working in relief last week. One of the wins over Roanoke as well, working in inning and 2/3 in their game 1 victory in that series. Here's his 1-1. Striking out a part of the plate, 1 ball and 2 strikes. So one of the more trusted relievers for Coach Spots and the Bridgewater Eagles. You can see why when you see his strikeout rate. 13, in excess of 13 strikeouts per 9 innings for this right-hander. The 1-2, leaning back out of the way is Collins. He was up and in on him, 2 balls and 2 strikes. And you can see why Bridgewater coaches trust Flanagan in big spots. He got the big strikeout with the game on the line yesterday. Strikes out the first batter he sees in the 3rd inning today. 2-2, down the way. What a backhanded pick there by the catcher, Montgomery. That probably saved a run, as Garrett Jackson over at 3rd base was ready to dart home. But Montgomery picks it off of the dirt, more like a first baseman would than a catcher. Keeps him in front of him, though, in the full count. Now on Collins. The runners will be on the move with the pitch here with the bases loaded and 2 down. Flanagan's 3-2 pitch is plateward. They do it again as it's fouled away by the Lynchburg third baseman, Gavin Collins. Collins, a freshman out of Clifton, Virginia. Got a great freshman campaign, hitting .307 at the start of play today in a big spot here, trying to help his team mount a comeback. 3-2 on the way again. Bouncer to the left side, and it gets through the left side. Off of the glove of the shortstop, Snyder. 2 runs are going to score for the Hornets, and it's 5-2. It's going to be tough play anyway for Snyder, even if he kept it in front of him to make a play on the infield. With him having to go to his right, it's going to be probably almost impossible to get Collins at first. But getting by him allowed the run from second to score as well. And Lynchburg gets its first 2 runs of the game as both Jackson and Carson score. Over to third goes Neves. And there's runners in the corners with 2 outs for Alvanos, who takes ball 1. Big for Lynchburg to get at least 2 on the board there. Having the bases loaded and 1 out to come up with nothing after Bridgewater had just scored 4 in the top of this inning would be a tough pill to swallow. Now it's 2-0 on Alvanos, who walked his first time up today. And all of a sudden, Lynchburg went from potentially leaving the bases loaded to now having the tying run at the plate. 2 runs in, 2 on, and what is now a 3-run contest here in the bottom of the third. 2-0, strike, 2-1. So Gavin Collins there with a huge 2-out, 2-run single, picking up his 30th and 31st RBIs of the year. Flanagan deals. Bouncer to the right side on the charge. Fielding and cleanly and making the play is Navedo. And that'll be that for Lynchburg in the third. But they do get a couple back. As we head to the 4th inning, it's Bridgewater 5, Lynchburg 2 in this decisive game 3 on the Lynchburg Hornets Sports Network. Fourth inning rolls in here in Lynchburg, Virginia. Bridgewater with a 5-2 lead over the Lynchburg Hornets. New pitcher on for Lynchburg is 6'2", 185-pound right-handed senior Grayson Thurman. Thurman will face the 2-3-4 hitters in the Bridgewater lineup. Bridgewater getting 4 in the third, Lynchburg getting 2 in their half to get it back to a 5-2 contest. Showing bunt is the first baseman, Tharp. On the first pitch, they appeal down to first base, and he was not able to pull the bunt back. Strike one. No official at-bat yet for Tharp as he walked and scored in the first and then successfully sacrificed last inning. Strike one pitch on the way. Backs him out of there. 1 ball and 1 strike. Thurman, a senior out of Lynch Station, Virginia. Majoring in accounting. Making his 21st appearance out of the bullpen this season for the Hornets. He is 3-2 and has a couple of saves. And gets a swing and a miss here. And Tharp, 1 ball and 2 strikes. In 33 2/3, he's allowed 20 hits, 18 runs, 13 of those runs earned. 20 walks, 61 strikeouts, and a 3.48 ERA for this righty. Tharp, Snyder, and Nevado. So the 2-3-4 hitters due up for Bridgewater here in the top of inning number 4. Thurman's 1-2 pitch on the way. That one misses upstairs. 2 balls, 2 strikes. And now the 2-2. Throw that upstairs. Full count. Thurman worked an inning against Bridgewater back on May 2nd in the second game of that doubleheader. Lynchburg winning the contest. He pitched in 12-1. He went an inning, allowed the only Bridgewater run of that contest on 1 hit, walked 1 and struck out 2. And did it hit him? I don't think it hit him, but it is ball 4. So Tharp is on for the second time today via a free pass as Thurman walks the first batter he faces this afternoon. And Jeffrey Snyder to the plate. A walk and an RBI triple for the Eagles shortstop. He grounds this one through the right side, a base hit. Hitting the bag at second and holding there is Tharp. After Lynchburg scored 2 runs to get back to within 3 in the bottom of the third, Bridgewater's offense going right back to work, looking to build off of that 4-run inning they had in the third and try to extend that lead again. So 2 on, 1 out. Second baseman Kevin Nevado to the plate, 1 for 2. He also had an RBI triple last inning and scored a run. Bounced into a fielder's choice his first time up this afternoon. Showing bunt. Pulls it back as that pitch was downstairs, and that's going to get the runners to move up. Fiedler blocked it, but then couldn't find it. It was a good read by the base runners. Tharp to third and Snyder to second. So now Nevado doesn't have to bunt to move the runners along. As the wild pitch does that job for them. And for the third time, or for the third different inning, I should say, here in the early going, Lynchburg brings the infield in. Worked in the first inning to cut off a run at the plate. Swing and a miss, ball and a strike now on Vado. He's now driven in 31 this season after his RBI triple an inning ago. That is a team high in terms of runs batted in this season. Long look in from Thurman. Now has the sign that he likes. 1-1 pitch. Just missed. 2 balls and a strike. Thurman has allowed at least a run in each of his last 3 appearances, and in fact, he allowed 4 in 2/3 of an inning of work in his most recent outing last weekend against Washington and Lee in the second game of that doubleheader sweep by the Hornets to advance past the Generals. 2-1. There's a strike. A breaking ball there from the senior righty to get it to 2 balls and 2 strikes. Mentioned earlier that Bridgewater has led the series since '96 and has had a huge advantage in the postseason, winning 8 out of the 10 postseason matchups, which includes yesterday's split. And history has been on their side, at least so far today, as that trend has continued. 1 in the first to get out to an early lead, then tacked on 4 last inning to go up 5-0. Lynchburg did get 2 back in the bottom of the third. Bridgewater threatening to extend the lead once more here in the top of the fourth with second and third and nobody out. And their cleanup hitting second baseman at the plate. Walk and a single so far this inning with a wild pitch allowing the runners to advance. It's Tharp over at third and Snyder also in scoring position, leading from second. Infield in for Lynchburg. 2-2. Towering pop fly. Left side of the infield. Shortstop Long camping under it. And Ryan Long puts it away. A big first out for Lynchburg here in the top of the fourth. That'll bring up the designated hitter, Brandon Hartman. He's gone the other way both times. A couple of singles to right field for the right-handed hitter. Drove in a run with his single last inning, picking up his 7th RBI of the year. Hornets will keep the infield in here. Mentioned that Thurman has 61 strikeouts this year. That is the most for Lynchburg among pitchers who have only pitched out of the bullpen. And this would be a prime opportunity for a strikeout here as he misses with his first offering to Hartman. The infield pop-up to get the first out was just about the ideal way to get the out, other than, of course, a strikeout. As there is a strike now, as Thurman gets back even in the count of the ball and a strike. Of course, with the infield in, may be able to cut a runner down at the plate as they did back in the first inning on a ground ball in the infield, but not necessarily. Here's the 1-1 pitch. Overhand breaking ball drops in there, and beauty. Grayson Thurman, the ball and 2 strikes on Brandon Hartman. These two teams won the most titles in ODAC history, 14 for Bridgewater, 8 for Lynchburg. But it's been a little while since either team made it to the championship series. One of them will end their drought today. Thurman steps off. For Lynchburg, this is their first time in the semifinal since 2012, and that was the last time they won the title. And hence the last time they made it to the championship series. As strike 3 is called on the inside part of the plate. Another big out there for Lynchburg. That's 6 strikeouts now for Hornets pitching as Thurman picks up his first catching. Hartman looking at a pitch on the inside part of the plate. And with 2 outs now, Lynchburg can relax the infield defense. So with second and third, nobody out, they get a pop-up to short and a strikeout. And if Grayson Thurman can get Kyle Carlson here, what a huge boost that would be to Lynchburg. After falling behind 5-0, they get 2 in the bottom of the third. And then when it looked like Bridgewater was about to extend its lead again, the Hornets may just be able to get this get out of this without allowing any damage here in this fourth inning. Long meeting between Coach Ben Spots and his third baseman, Kyle Carlson, before allowing the third baseman to dig in. He is 1 for 2, singled and scored last inning, struck out his first time up. And he takes ball one here. Not often do you have the umpire having to break up conversation between a coach and a batter, but that's what we just had moments ago. Wondering if maybe that was partially a silent protest to the strike three call moments ago. Thurman's 1-0 pitch on the way, and that one drops in there. It's a ball and a strike now on Carlson. As I mentioned, scoring one of the 4 runs last inning for the Eagles. They've got Tharp at third. He walked to start the inning. Out at second is Snyder. He singled. Both of them moving up a base on a wild pitch. The 1-1. Strike 2. Thurman, a heavy dose of breaking balls in this inning. And he has been throwing many of them for strikes, and he is 1 strike away from straining a couple of Eagles in scoring position here in the top half of inning 4. One, two. Fouled straight back into the screen. We'll do it again. In the outfield, Lynchburg playing Carlson very much to go the opposite way, as the center fielder, Carson, is way over in right center, and the right fielder, Schaefer, is more towards the line than normal. There's a big gap out in left center. Another foul off the bat of Carlson to keep it at 1-2. 5 runs, 7 hits, and an error for Bridgewater. 2s across the board. 2 runs, 2 hits, 2 errors so far for Lynchburg as we play in the top of this 4th inning. Again, number 4 seed Shenandoah awaits the winner in the championship series next weekend. 1-2. Missed up and maybe a little bit in. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Coming into this week, Lynchburg was ranked number 6 in the South, the latest NCAA regional rankings. But would hate to have to rely on trying to stay in that top 6 to make it to the NCAA tournament. Here's the 2-2. Got him. Elevated fastball. And back-to-back strikeouts help Grayson Thurman get out of trouble. The Eagles leave a couple in scoring position. Bridgewater has to settle for keeping their lead at 3. We go to the bottom of the 4th, 5-2 Eagles on LHSN. Bottom of the 4th, it'll be Holden Fiedler, the catcher, to lead things off for Lynchburg. Getting out of a huge jam in the top of this inning. 2nd and 3rd, nobody out. And Thurman, Grayson Thurman, the senior, with a pop-up and back-to-back strikeouts, gets out of it without allowing a run. So the deficit remains 3 for the Hornets. Flanagan back to work on the hill for the Eagles. And fires one into the dirt. 1-0 on Fiedler. Fiedler, Long, and Schaefer. 8, 9, and 1 Here in the bottom of up for the Hornets. Here's the 1-0, right through the heart of the plate, ball and a strike. Fiedler flew out to right his first time up today. He had 2 on with 1 out in the second inning when he came to the plate, but Fiedler and Long were both set down by Reed Long, the starter for Bridgewater, which kept, at the time, Bridgewater in front 1-0. They then scored 4 in the top half of the third. Lynchburg got 2 back in the bottom of the inning. Here's the 2-1 pitch down and away, now 3-1. On the backstop, Fiedler. A 2-run single by Gavin Collins last inning was what got Lynchburg on the board. Three-one on the way, and it's wide. A leadoff walk issued to the catcher, Fiedler. 4 walks already drawn by Lynchburg today. And for the second time in the first 4 innings, they have the leadoff batter for each base. That brings up the number 9 hitter, shortstop Ryan Long. Struck out to end the second. 1 of 3 strikeouts for Reed Long, the starter. He went 2 1/3, allowed 2 runs on a hit, walked 3, struck out 3. Starter also out of there after 2 1/3 for Lynchburg, and that was Jack Batchmore. He gave up 4 runs on 5 hits. Walked 2 and struck out 4 as Ryan Long takes a strike from Flanagan. William Flanagan coming in last inning. Got a strikeout, then gave up the single to Collins before getting Alvanos to strike or to ground out to end the inning as this one's lifted out into center. Catch is made by Jacob Grable, the center fielder, for out number 1, and retreating is Fiedler. So that'll turn things back over to the top of the Hornets lineup. Right fielder Parker Schaefer. Schaefer's 0 for 2. He's bounced to short and flown to center in his first 2 trips to the plate. 1 on with 1 out here in the bottom of the 4th. For a moment, hold it back. A 20-2 home record for Lynchburg this season, with just the second of those losses coming yesterday in Game 2 at Bridgewater. Not in danger again today with the visiting team leading 5-2 in the bottom of the 4th. Check swing called strike on Schaefer. Ball and a strike. This one pops off of the mitt of the catcher Montgomery, and down to second will go Fiedler. A pass ball there, allowing the Lynchburg catcher to move himself into scoring position. And it's a 2-ball, 1-strike count on Schaefer. So a runner now in scoring position for the Lynchburg right fielder. Flanagan takes a look at the runner, now fires and misses upstairs. Run the count to 3 balls and a strike. One upcoming, here it is. Fouled straight back. A cut there by Schaefer. Full count. Winner moving on to take on number 4 seed Shenandoah in the championship series. The automatic berth to the tournament on the line. NCAA tournament. Next weekend. 3-2 pitch. Fouled off in the mask of the catcher Montgomery. To his credit, didn't flinch one bit. Just readjusted the mask a little bit. Right back down into his crouch to deliver the next sign to Flanagan. That's his back at the runner. And delivers one that's popped up. And will get out of play foul. So it'll stay at 3-2 on Parker Schaefer. 282 average and 361 on base percentage at the start of play today. Schaefer 0 for 1. I think of 1 for 2 yesterday. And he will reach base. 2 on here for Lynchburg in the bottom of the 4th. Couple of walks in the inning for Flanagan. With a fly out in between, and we're going to have another mound visit. First and second, 1 out. Garrett Jackson coming up for Lynchburg. He's 1 for 2 so far. We'll see if this ends up being the end of the line for Flanagan or not. No indication has been made yet. The entire infield is in on this conversation. Jackson will represent the tying run at the plate here in the bottom of the 4th with Bridgewater in front 5-2. Lynchburg getting 2 across in the 3rd. And after holding Bridgewater off the board in the top of this inning, when it looked like the Eagles were threatening to get some runs right back and stretch that lead back out once more, they had 2nd and 3rd with nobody out, but Grayson Thurman pop up in a couple of strikeouts enabled the Hornets to get out of that inning without any damage. Home plate umpire breaks up the conversation. The Eagles scatter in all directions. Coach back to the dugout. Infielders back to their respective positions on the infield dirt. And Montgomery back behind the plate as the right-handed hitting first baseman Garrett Jackson digs in. Struck out in the 1st. Singleton scored one of the 2 runs last inning. And he takes ball 1 from Flanagan. Fiedler's at 2nd, Schaefer at 1st for Lynchburg, each of them reaching on a walk. 5 walks for the Eagles pitching staff this afternoon, and now 2-0 on Jackson. As he leans back out of the way of that most recent Flanagan offering. Swing and a miss. 2 balls and a strike. Jackson had a healthy cut at a fastball that was maybe a little bit up. Could have been top of the strike zone. Could have been just out of it. Either way, it's a 2-ball, 1 strike count, so the count's still in Jackson's favor. Lynchburg trying to continue chipping away at the lead, and that one got him right in the back, right between the 2 and the 1. And that's going to load him up for Lynchburg. 2nd straight inning that the Hornets have had the bases loaded. Last inning, Gavin Collins came up with the bases loaded and delivered a 2-run single to get Lynchburg on the board. That so far is the only offense they have had, but the bases loaded with 1 out here for the heart of their lineup. Here's the center fielder, Kinston Carson. He has walked and been hit by a pitch so far today. He scored one of the 2 runs last inning. And Flanagan starts him off with a strike. The second batter that has been hit by Bridgewater today. So they have walked 5 and hit 2 batters. One's grounded to short, could be 2. They get the force at 2nd. That's going to be all they get. So a fielder's choice, that'll be an RBI for Carson. Number 40 on the year for the center fielder. Lynchburg is now within 2, 5-3 as they edge a little bit closer. And runners on the corners now with 2 down. And Avery Neves, the cleanup hitting left fielder, coming to the plate now. He has 0 for 1, a line out and a walk so far for Neves. Opportunity here with 2 outs to get Lynchburg even closer, possibly tie it up with an extra base hit. Takes one downstairs, ball 1. He's one of 3 Hornets that were named to the Hall ODAC first team late last week. Winston Carson and Grayson Thurman being those. Brandon Pond as well. Of course, he was also the league's pitcher of the year. Pond suffered the loss in Game 2 yesterday. One of the factors making that Game 2 Bridgewater win surprising. Here's the 2-0. Strike from Flanagan. Flanagan trying to get out of a jam that is pretty much all of his doing. 2 walks and a hit batter. 1 run in on the fielder's choice. Here's the 2-1. Downstairs, blocked by Montgomery. Sheds the mask, keeps it in front of him. 3 balls and a strike. Cameron Lane would be next if the inning should continue for Lynchburg. At the very least, they have gotten 1 run closer. The kick in the 3-1, and it'll go full as Neves had a rip but came up empty. Schaefer coming down the line in foul territory at third. Over at first is Carson, having just picked up the RBI on the fielder's choice. He'll go from first, 3-2 pitch, ground ball to the right side. Throw to first is a little low, but Tharp is able to pick up the throw from Navedo, and the inning is over. The Hornets do get a run back, though, and as we head to the 5th, Bridgewater's lead is now down to 5-3 on the Lynchburg Hornets Sports Network. What was once 5-0 Bridgewater is now 5-3. As we go to the top of the 5th inning, Grayson Thurman back out there for another inning of work. 4th different pitcher used by Lynchburg today. Jack Batchmore went the first 2 1/3. Michael Ruskin with the 3rd of an inning. Doffelmeyer then got one out. It was a big strikeout to end the 3rd, and then Thurman came on, pitched around a walk and a strikeout, or walk and a single, I should say, last inning, picking up 2 strikeouts to get out of trouble. And he gets a swing and a miss from Jacob Grable to begin the 5th inning. So Lynchburg has cut it to 5-3. Grable, Clever, and Montgomery, the 7, 8, 9 hitters. So bottom third of the lineup due for the Eagles here in inning 5. And Thurman is quickly ahead of Grable, 0-2. Strikeout and a fielder's choice for the Bridgewater center fielder so far today. Entered play today, hitting .240, getting on base at a .353 clip. Thurman strike 2. A little bit elevated, 1 ball and 2 strikes. Righty on righty bow. Bell tie set for Thurman, working exclusively out of the stretch and getting a piece and fouling it back behind home plate is Grable. Lynchburg dominant in the first 3 games between these two teams, the 2 regular season meetings and game 1 yesterday. Bridgewater with their backs against the wall yesterday, won game 2 and had a 5-0 lead at one point here in game 3 today. As we get a called third strike on the inside corner. 3 straight strikeouts for Grayson Thurman as he gets Grable looking. 8 strikeouts now for Lynchburg pitching. The leadoff man retired here in the top of the 5th, bringing to the plate the right fielder Hunter Clever. He's 0 for 1. Struck out against the starter Batchmore in the 2nd and then was hit by a pitch. His last time up as a part of that 4-run 3rd. And Thurman starts him off with a strike. Thurman has pitched exclusively out of the bullpen for Lynchburg, but he has gone as long as 5 2/3 in a game so far this year. This one's grounded deep in the hole. It's short and just gets under the glove of the diving shortstop Ryan Long into left, a base hit. Looked like Long might get there, did not quite get it. Even if he had kept it on the infield, though, it was unlikely he was going to be able to throw out the runner at first base. So a 1-out single for Bridgewater. That's the 8th hit of the afternoon for the Eagles. Lynchburg with just 2, although they have drawn 6 walks and had 2 batters hit by pitches. Here's Tanner Montgomery, the catcher. He walked with the bases loaded to drive in a run his last time up. This time he tries to bunt. That one caught the catcher, Fiedler. Home plate umpire will walk baseball out to Thurman to give the Lynchburg catcher a couple extra moments to collect himself. Catcher will often do the same thing if the umpire gets hit, so Fiedler seems to be all right. Junior out of Enrico, Virginia. Digging back in is Montgomery's. Takes one out of the zone, a ball and a strike. That Montgomery bases loaded walk gave the Eagles catcher his first run batted in this season. He's 0 for 20 at the plate, but he has walked 4 times. Showing bunt again here, pulls it back, apparently just in time. The pitch was just a touch low, 2 balls and a strike. Leadoff hitter Jarrett Biesecker waiting in the on-deck circle for Bridgewater. This one is bunted back toward the mound. Thurman's got plenty of time to throw a strike to first, so it's a successful sacrifice with the catcher Montgomery. So that'll move Clever along to second. He's now in scoring position with 2 outs in the frame. That's back to the top of the order, and Biesecker. 1 for 3. Singleton scored in his middle at bat. That came in the 3rd. He then came up for a second time in that 3rd inning and was struck out by Doffelmeyer to end what was the 4-run inning. Bounced out short to start the game, and now he bounces one to second. Routine play, closer play than it would have looked like off of the bat, but Avanos gets it there in time to throw out the speedy Jarrett Biesecker. So Thurman pitches around a 1-out single, and we're halfway home here in the decisive game 3. It's 5-3 Bridgewater on LHSN. 5, 6, and 7 coming up for Lynchburg in the bottom of the 5th. 5-3 Bridgewater in front. Cameron Lane digs in 0 for 2. And takes it downstairs to begin this bottom of the 5th. Lane, Collins, and Alvanos coming up for the Hornets. Lane 0 for 2. He reached on an error back in the 2nd and then struck out his last time up against William Flanagan. He delivers a strike 1-1. Still out there for Bridgewater. Came in to strike out Lane in the 3rd. It's the inning where Lynchburg got 2 of its runs. They got 1 more last inning. 2-1 now on Lane. Here it comes. And the count is even now at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Lane is a junior out of Manassas, Virginia. Steps out of the box. A couple of half cuts before digging back in left side. Here comes the 2-2. Ground ball to first. Picked up, flipped to Flanagan, is going to be in time. Tharp had trouble with one earlier in the game. Incidentally, it was when Lane was at the plate back in the 2nd inning, and he made an error on that one. This time he's able to flip to the pitcher covering in time. And Lane is retired, 1 up, 1 down here in the bottom of the 5th. Brings up third baseman Gavin Collins, who drove in the first 2 runs of the day for Lynchburg with a 2-run single. With the bases loaded back in the 3rd. Grounded one deep in the hole to the shortstop, Snyder, as Flanagan delivers a first pitch strike. And Snyder got a piece of it, but could not keep it on the infield, and that allowed 2 runs to come in. Struck out his first time up today. Outside, a ball and a strike on Gavin Collins. So far today, Bridgewater's pitching has collected 4 strikeouts of Hornets batters. Here's the 1-1. Sharply grounded foul, third base side, a ball and 2 strikes. Mentioned earlier that Lynchburg, when they're involved, there's going to be a lot of strikeouts. Their batters strike out the most, but they also strike out the most batters in the conference. In fact, their pitching staff has racked up nearly 100 more strikeouts than the next closest ODAC staff. As taking one upstairs is Collins, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Flanagan has the sign that he likes, the 2-2 pitch, plateward, and it'll run full. Second baseman P.J. Alvanos waiting in the on-deck circle. He's reached once so far today. Payoff. Driven out into left center field. And this one is going to get down. Slipping is the center fielder. As Brable was running over into the gap to cut that one off. And as he ran over, his feet went out from underneath him. I don't think they were going to get Collins at second anyway, as he pulls in with a 1-out double. But any chance they possibly had of throwing out Collins went by the wayside when Brable took a tumble in the outfield, which is certainly wet after all the rain that came through before the ball game earlier this afternoon. P.J. Alvanos now to the plate, 0 for 1 plus a walk. Flanagan glancing back at the runner before firing in, but just missing apparently a little bit low. Ball 1 on Alvanos. He's driven in 28 runs so far this year. 294 average, a 470 on base percentage. Looking at up and down this Lynchburg lineup, so many of the regulars over 400 with their on base. as Flanagan splits the plate to even things up at a ball and a strike. You can see why Lynchburg would have been heavily favored coming into this series. And they showed why in Game 1 yesterday, but could not close out in Game 2, forcing the two teams to meet once more today. Foul ball off the bat of Alvanos brings the count to a ball and 2 strikes. Bridgewater got 1 in the first, then 4 in the third to go up 5-0. Lynchburg got 2 in the bottom half of the third to get on the board. Grayson Thurman worked out of trouble in the top of the fourth to keep it a 3-run game, and then Lynchburg got 1 in the fourth. There's a ground ball to the right side. This will advance the runner over to third as Alvanos is retired by Nevado. So Collins will be at third with 2 away, and it's up to the catcher, Holden Fiedler, with 2 outs here in the bottom of the fifth. Lynchburg again trying to chip away at what a couple innings ago was 5-0. It's now 5-3, and it could be closer if Holden Fiedler is able to pick up his first hit of the afternoon. He is 0 for 1 with a fly to right and a walk. He did score Lynchburg's run last inning to get it to 5-3. And takes one well off the plate outside, ball 1. Flanagan, back of the starter, Reed Long has gone same number of innings, or at least has gotten the same number of outs to this point. The 1-0 is in the dirt to make it 2-0 on Fiedler. Each of them have worked 2 1/3, while for Lynchburg, they have used 4 pitchers so far to get through the first 5 innings. And 2 1/3 out of their starter as well. 2-0 pitch. Fiedler leaves that one alone, and it's 3-0. "14 runs batted in for Fiedler. Looking to come up with a big 2-out knock to collect number 15. Here's the 3-0. Appeared to be taking all the way, and Flanagan delivers a strike on the outer third, trying to stay out of the center of the plate just in case the Lynchburg catcher had a 3-0 green light, which he might have, but even if he did not appear interested in swinging. Here's the 3-1. Similar spot and the same result, full count. With the shortstop Ryan Long waiting on deck, hoping he gets an opportunity to bat here in the fifth rather than lead off when Lynchburg comes to the plate in the sixth. Flanagan's 3-2. Just getting a piece of it. This Fiedler, we will do it again at 3-2. Bridgewater has out-hit Lynchburg to this point in the ball game 8-3. But Lynchburg, with all the walks they have drawn to this point in the afternoon, they have had plenty of base runners. 3-2 again, strike 3. Swung through it. On the outside part of the plate, Flanagan picks up his second strikeout, and Lynchburg will strand Gavin Collins at third base. Through 5 complete. Bridgewater 5, Lynchburg 3 on the Lynchburg Hornets Sports Network. We move to the top of the sixth. The Bridgewater Eagles with a 5-3 lead over the Lynchburg Hornets in the decisive Game 3 winner to advance to the championship series of the ODAC tournament against the 4-seed Shenandoah next weekend. Grayson Thurman has been strong for Lynchburg out of the bullpen. He continues to work here in the sixth, and he delivers a strike to Brett Tharp, the first baseman. Tharp, Snyder, and Nevado, 2-3-4 for Bridgewater here in their half of inning 6. Strike one on the way. Bounced foul right at the plate. Boomer quickly out of his crouch to grab it. 0-2. So far today, Tharp has walked twice and also dropped down a sacrifice bunt as a part of that 4-run Bridgewater third. So yet to record an official at-bat. He scored the first run of the game back in inning number 1. And he takes one a little bit high, 1 ball and 2 strikes. Thurman working fairly quickly out there, exclusively out of the stretch, comes set at the belt and fires one up and in. Did not look like it hit Tharp, but he dropped down to get out of the way. Looked like the home plate umpire was asking his partner over at first for help to make sure that it didn't hit the Eagles' first baseman. It didn't, and he digs back in after getting back to his feet. 2-2 on the way. Got him on the inside part of the plate. Grayson Thurman continuing to rack up the strikeouts. That one's number 4. Leadoff man retired here on the top of the 6th. Brings up the shortstop, Jeffrey Snyder. Snyder is 1 for 3. He tripled in a run and also scored in the third. Hit it to short his other 2 times, once in a fielder's choice, the other on a pop-up. He takes this one wide. He came up with second and third. Well, it was first and second, actually, when he first came up with nobody out in the 4th inning. While he was at the plate, a wild pitch made it second and third. Here's the 1-0. And Thurman falls behind the count, 2 balls and no strikes. That was Thurman's first inning of work. And it looked like after allowing Lynchburg to get on the board in the third, that Bridgewater was going to just add right back to their lead. This one's grounded to the first base side, and that one will get through. It splits the gap between Alvanos and Jackson. A 1-out single through the right side of the diamond for Snyder. 9 hits now for the Eagles, and the second of the day for Snyder. 1 on and 1 out as second baseman Kevin Nevado will dig in right side now for Bridgewater. But in that inning, Snyder popped up. Or rather, Nevado popped up. Snyder is now 3 for 3 plus a walk. Just looking at Nevado's line. Nevado is the one who's 1 for 3 with an RBI triple. Snyder has an RBI triple as well. They had back-to-back RBI triples in that inning, did Bridgewater, and hence the confusion on my part as that one's fouled back. You don't often see back-to-back RBI triples both to right center, which is what I have written in my scorebook, which is what happened. Just doesn't often happen that the same hitter does the exact same thing, and that same thing is a triple to the same spot of the field. That's how things played out. Runner going from first. Here comes the throw down. It's a 1-hopper, but it's not going to be in time. And sliding in there safely with steal number 18 is Snyder. Came in 3rd in the conference in steals. He's now 18 out of 21. And Bridgewater has a runner in scoring position now for Nevado. So Thurman again will have to try and wriggle out of trouble to keep Lynchburg's deficit at just 2 here on the top of the 6th. Check swing, went around, strike 2. On Nevada, 1 ball and 2 strikes. He's grounded into a fielder's choice, had his RBI triple and a pop up to short. Thurman was the one who got him to pop to short. That second and third nobody out situation, and the fourth, which could be a key moment in this ball game if Lynchburg does in fact come back. And that'll be some meat left on the bone there for the Eagles. Check swing again this time. Nevada was able to hold back 2 balls and 2 strikes. At second and third with nobody out, got nothing out of it. Lynchburg then came up in the home half of the inning and got 1 run closer. Neither team scored in the 5th. First time that had happened since the 2nd, where neither team got a run across in its half inning. Now Thurman misses with his 2-2 to run the count full. On Nevada, DH Hartman, who has a couple of hits already, is lurking in the deck circle for the Eagles. Three-two. Got him. Swung right through it. Strikeout number 5 for Grayson Thurman, and that's now double-digit strikeouts for Hornets pitching. And even 10, 4 for Batchmore, 1 for Doffelmeyer, and now 5 for Thurman. 5 of the 8 outs he has recorded have come via the strikeout. And there's 2 down in the inning now for the DH, Brandon Hartman, who, as I mentioned already, with a couple of hits today, he is 2 for 3, 2 singles, 1 RBI. He struck out looking against Thurman his last time up, which was in the 4th. Snyder, who has been a thorn for Lynchburg today, has reached all 4 times, leading from second, having singled and stolen a base earlier in this 6th inning. And that one hits Hartman. So now the Eagles will have 2 on with 2 out. And Kyle Carlson, the third baseman, another RBI opportunity. Came up with 2 on and 2 out in the 4th. Thurman struck him out. Came up with 2 on and 2 out all the way back in the 1st, and Batchmore struck him out then. So now 2 on with 2 out here in the 6th. What can he do his second time against Thurman? He's swinging away in the first pitch, and he chops it into the third base dugout, strike 1. Singleton scored in his middle at bat. That was back in the 4-run 3rd. He has come up with at least 1 runner on base. Now all 4 times he has come to the plate, but as he takes strike 2, he has an opportunity to give Bridgewater a little bit more breathing room. It feels like with all the runs that they are capable of scoring, Lynchburg only down 2 here in the 6th. It feels like their offense at any moment could break out for a crooked inning. Bridgewater needs to keep the pressure on, you feel. Here's the strike 2 pitch. Swing and a miss in the dirt, and the catcher Fiedler will apply the tag to end the frame. So around a single and a hit batter, Grayson Thurman actually strikes out the side. He has struck out 6 so far in relief. After 5.5, Bridgewater still on top of Lynchburg, 5-3 on the Lynchburg Hornets Sports Network. Bottom of the sixth. Lynchburg down 5-3 to Bridgewater, but again on the top of this inning, Mason Thurman again working out of some trouble to keep the Hornets within striking distance here. They'll bring their 9-1-2 hitters to the plate here in this half inning. Ryan Long, Parker Schaefer, and Garrett Jackson. Downstairs to Ryan Long to begin the bottom of the sixth inning. Still out there for Bridgewater is sophomore right-hander William Flanagan. 6'2", 190 out of North Chesterfield, Virginia. So far, I struck out a couple in 2 2/3 innings of relief work. This is that one a little bit off the plate outside. Long today is 0 for 2. He struck out in the second and then flew to center in the fourth. Flanagan out there in relief of the starter Reed Long, who went 2 1/3 for the Eagles. Hornets starter Jack Matchmore also going 2 1/3. You figure that both coaches would have quick hooks. First sign of struggles with this, of course, being a do-or-die game. As Flanagan comes back from down to the count 2-0 to even the count now with 2 balls and 2 strikes on the Lynchburg shortstop. Long entered the day at 271. Here's Flanagan's 2-2 delivery. Fouled straight back into the net behind home plate. Keep it at a 2-ball, 2-strike count. So far through 5 1/2, Bridgewater with 5 runs on 9 hits and 1 error. Lynchburg 3 runs on 3 hits and 2 errors. Upstairs with the 2-2 from Flanagan, and the count runs full, despite only having 3 hits. Plenty of base runners so far today for Lynchburg, as they have had 5 walks and a couple of hit batters as well. Flanagan's 3-2 delivery. Little check swing cue shot back of first, and that one's caught right near the foul line by Tharp. So a little check swing pop-up by Long is the first out here in the bottom of the sixth. And the lineup will now turn back over to the top. Leadoff hitting right fielder Parker Schaefer will come up. Drew one of those walks his last trip back in the fourth. Takes one down and away. 0 for 2 officially. A ground out and a fly out to go with that free pass. Flanagan deals and gets the outer edge. 1 ball and 1 strike. Flanagan, this is the longest outing he's had since going 3 1/3 in an outing against Washington and Lee back on April 28th, and that one hits Schaefer. Second batter that Flanagan has hit, and 3rd overall by Bridgewater pitching.
First baseman, number 21, Garrett Jackson.
It looks like they're going to make sure that Schaefer's all right. It looked like it hit him around the hand or wrist area. Just want to double check and make sure that he's all right to continue in this one. And I'm sure he would be okay to run, unless, of course, maybe having to slide. We don't want to get that hand hurt anymore. He slides head first. Might be a little bit more of an issue when it comes to playing the outfield. Or, of course, taking another hack. It'll be Garrett Jackson who's coming to the plate next for Lynchburg, as they'll again bring the tying run to the plate here in the bottom of the sixth. Yesterday, they brought the tying run to the plate in the top of the ninth. They had scored 2 runs in the inning to make it 8-5. But Flanagan, who's out there on the mound for Bridgewater right now, came on with 2 outs and got a game-ending strikeout to save the contest and force this winner-take-all Game 3, as they have determined that Schaefer is okay to continue. Bring him back to the dugout. And Coach Jones back to the third base coaching box. Schaefer will begin to lead off of first base, and Jackson digs in. Flanagan's first offering to Jackson is rolled to the right side, bobbled for a moment, and no play. Nevado couldn't quite ever come up with it cleanly, at least not until there was no chance of throwing out either runner. And so the second error of the afternoon for Bridgewater will put 2 on with 1 out. In the Lynchburg sixth, bringing up Kinston Carson, the center fielder. Reached his first 3 trips, a walk, a hit by pitch, and a fielder's choice. 1 run scored, 1 run batted in for Carson. He's got Schaefer at second after he was hit by a pitch, and Jackson at first, having just reached on the error by the second baseman, Nevado. Carson, a first-team all-conference selection. Drove in his 40th run with a fielder's choice back in the 4th to get it to 5-3. That's where it still stands here in the bottom of the 6th. Bounces this one again to Nevado. He'll go to second for 1. They will relay it to first. It won't be in time. But in the second chance category, Nevado passes this time. Getting the force on Jackson at second. Schaefer scampers over to third. And so now there'll be runners on the corners with 2 outs. Another big spot for Lynchburg's cleanup hitter, Avery Neves. Came up with a couple on last time up with 2 outs in the 4th. And Flanagan got him to ground out. And has 2 on with 2 outs again here in the 6th. Tying runs aboard. And that one is picked off of the dirt by Montgomery. That's a couple times today we've seen an Eagles pitcher bounce one off the dirt and Flanagan basically pick one off of the dirt as if he was a first baseman. And the one earlier had to kind of backhand it behind the left-handed batter's box, and it saved a run. This one may have as well. 1-0. In there to even things at 1-1. Oh for 2 officially for Avery Neves today. Line out in the first, walk in the third, and that 4th inning bounce out. 1-1 is plate work. Checked his swing. Bridgewater wants to appeal. He did not go around. 2 balls and a strike, so the count in his favor. Neves, a sophomore out of Reston, Virginia. Waiting on the 2-1. Here it comes. Again, thought about going after it. Not as much of a check swing this time around as the previous pitch. And now 3-1. Cameron Lane lurking in the on-deck circle should Neves reach. Extending this 6th inning. 3-1. Hops it up, foul. That one's going to get back out of play, and now the count will go full, which will mean that Kinston Carson over at first base can get his motor started with the pitch. They are holding him over. Tharp is holding him on. Sometimes you see back off the play behind him in 3-2 count. There goes the runner way outside. And Neves for the second is able to draw a walk. Walk number 3 issued by Flanagan, and it's going to be another bases loaded situation for the Hornets. Gavin Collins came up with the bases loaded in the 3rd and delivered a 2-run single. Kinston Carson delivered a run batting with the bases loaded in the 4th on an RBI fielder's choice. So The previous 3 runs by Lynchburg all were scored in situations with the bases loaded, and that's a situation here with 2 outs for Cameron Lane here in the bottom of the 6th. Trying to complete the comeback from what was a 5-0 lead for Bridgewater after 2.5. Strike 1. It was Lynchburg who had the lead after 2.5 yesterday, up 3-0 before a 5-run Bridgewater bottom of the 3rd gave the Eagles the lead, which they kept throughout the rest of the afternoon. Here's the 0-1 to Lane, well off the plate outside 1-1. So Lynchburg kind of trying to return the favor. Down 5-0 after a 2.5 today. 2 back in the 3rd, 1 in the 4th. And threatening to tie it up, possibly take the lead here with the bases loaded in the 6th, 1-1. Flanagan drops in a hook, 1 ball, 2 strikes. So Flanagan is a strike away from dancing out of trouble. So far, through 5 innings, Lynchburg has left 8 runners on base, including 2 runners on base in each of the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th innings. 1-2, way upstairs, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Trying to get him to chase one up and out of the zone, but Cameron Lane was not interested. Last inning, Lynchburg got a 1-out double from Gavin Collins, but left him stranded. So they've had their opportunities, just haven't quite cashed in on enough of them yet to at least be leading in the contest. That might change here momentarily. Depending on what Cameron Lane does, he calls time before any of that can play out. Takes a big, deep breath and a half cut before getting back into his slightly bent stance on the left side. 2-2, chops it foul. So it remains 2 balls and 2 strikes on Lynchburg's designated hitter for this contest, Cameron Lane. Schaefer's at 3rd. He was hit by a pitch. Carson at 2nd, reached down to fielder's choice. And Neves over at first after a walk. And that one hits him right in the back. So an RBI the hard way for Cameron Lane, as he is the 2nd batter hit this inning by Flanagan. Lynchburg is within 1 now at 5-4. It'll be an unearned run, as will any of the runs that Lynchburg would score now from this point on in the inning. Bases will remain loaded as Schaefer scores. And now Collins, with the bases still loaded in what is now a 1-run contest. Flanagan deals. First pitch strike. So now it is Carson at 3rd, Neves at 2nd, and Lane at 1st. Lane picking up his 20th RBI of the year. Collins is 2 for 3 at the plate today. That's down and away to even the count at a ball and a strike. He struck out in the 2nd, drove in 2 with a single in the 3rd, and then doubled his last time up, last inning before he was stranded. Flanagan takes his time getting the sign from his battery mate Montgomery, and it was long enough where Collins called for and got time at the plate. Stepped out of the box for a moment, now back in. Waiting on a 1-1 pitch from Flanagan, who now comes set just above the belt, kicks and fires. That one is shot foul to the screen, first base side of the plate. 1-2 on Gavin Collins. Collins, a freshman. A lot of freshmen contributing for Coach Jones this year in the Hornets. And contributing in big ways. Breaking ball, cut on and missed, and Flanagan escapes further damage. Hornets leave them loaded. They do get 1, and after 6, Bridgewater clinging to a 5-4 lead here on LHSN. Seventh inning here in Lynchburg. Bridgewater still clinging to the lead. It has now been trimmed to 5-4. It's the bottom third of the order coming up for the Bridgewater Eagles. Jacob Grable, Hunter Clever, and Tanner Montgomery. Grayson Thurman back out there. This one's bunted foul by Grable for strike one. Huge strikeout again for Flanagan. He's had a couple today. Big strikeout in the third inning. What could have been a bigger inning than just 2 runs for Lynchburg. As Grable swings through the 0-1 offering. Thurman ahead 0-2, and then after hitting a batter with the bases loaded to bring in the run which got Lynchburg within 1, he strikes out Gavin Collins to avoid further trouble and keep Bridgewater in the lead for now. A swing and a miss, and having to throw down to complete the strikeout is Fiedler. He does that, and Grayson Thurman rings up his 7th strikeout. 4 outs in a row for Lynchburg's right-hander have been via the K. And here's 1 up and 1 gone here on the top of the 7th, bringing right fielder Hunter Clever to the plate. He has been on twice. 1 for 2. First pitch his way. Got him. Helmet comes flying off as he was ducking out of the way. Maybe it didn't hit him. Maybe it hit the bat. Well, he ducked out of the way, lost his helmet. Out to the mound to chat with Thurman is the catcher, Holden Fiedler. Clever's been on twice, as I mentioned. He struck out his first time up, but since then he has been hit by a pitch and also picked up a single. So he was almost hit for the second time this afternoon, but got out of the way. Thurman delivers. Chopper to the left side. Nice play by Collins, the third baseman, as he cuts it off, fires to first, and Clever is retired. A couple of quick outs here in the top of the 7th for Thurman. That'll leave it up to the 9-hole hitter, the catcher, Tanner Montgomery. Montgomery 0 for 1 officially. He struck out his first time up back in the 2nd. Walked with the bases loaded to pick up his first RBI back in the 3rd, and then last time up, he sacrificed. Thurman deals and gets a swing and a miss for strike 1. So far, we've only had 1, 2, 3 inning today, and that was the top of the 2nd. when Jack Batchmore struck out the Eagles in order. That one's fouled away for strike 2. Every other half inning, there has been at least one base runner for either team. So Thurman trying to have just the second 1-2-3 half inning for either team all day. Misses low for that one. 1-2 strikes. If Montgomery is able to reach, we go back to the top of the order, and Jarrett Biesecker for Bridgewater. Here's the 1-2 pitch. Got him looking at a breaking ball, and he knew it. Just could not pull the trigger. And it is, in fact, a 1-2-3 inning for Thurman, who picks up his 8th strikeout. Time to stand up and stretch. The Eagles leading the Hornets 5-4 on the Lynchburg Hornets Sports Network. We go to the bottom of the 7th. It is still a Bridgewater lead, but just by 1, 5-4 over Lynchburg. As PJ Alvanos digs in left side against a new pitcher for Bridgewater, and the new lefty misses outside. It is junior southpaw Tucker Haraski, 5'11", 185 out of Marion, Massachusetts. He comes in as the 3rd pitcher of the day for Bridgewater, and he falls behind now 2 balls and no strikes. Haraski so far has made 14 appearances this season for Bridgewater. His 2-0 pitch to Alvanos is in there for a strike. Goes to 2-1. This season, he's 1-2 with 5 saves. 20 hits allowed in 20 in the 3rd innings. 21 runs, 19 of which were earned. 18 walks, 38 strikeouts, and 8.41 ERA. Takes over for Flanagan, who went 3 2/3 out of the bullpen for the Eagles, but he walks PJ Alvanos to start his outing Does Haraski.
The catcher, number 23, Holden Fiedler.
And so the tying run is aboard for the catcher, Holden Fiedler, who is 0 for 2, did walk and score a run back in the fourth. Around that, he has flown out and struck out. Now, Vanos has only tried to steal once this season, and he was caught. Not a common thing for Lynchburg this season. I mentioned earlier in the ball game, it's worth mentioning again, the gap between the Hornets and the rest of the conference in stolen bases. 103 steals for Lynchburg this year. Second was Randolph-Macon. They only had 69. So more than a 30 stolen base gap between Lynchburg and everybody else. Showing bunt was Fiedler. Pulled it back and is now ahead in the count. 2 balls and no strikes on the Hornets catcher. Showing bunt again here on 2-0. Quickly pulls it back and spins back out of the box, out of the way of that offering from Tucker Haraski. It's 3-0. Shortstop Ryan Long waiting his turn in the on-deck circle. Hoping he has a couple of ducks on the pond. Here's the 3-0. Quickly pulling back the bunt as he was taking all the way is Fiedler, and it's in there for a called strike, 3-1. Bridgewater was up 5-0 after 2.5, and since then they have seen the lead slowly dwindle, but it's still intact for the time being. So it's back-to-back walks now as tossing the bat aside is Fiedler to start the bottom of the 7th. Not what you want if you're Bridgewater head coach Ben Spots. And he is not going to waste any time. He's going to make some changes here after Haraski comes in and walks the first 2 he faces. So Vanos will be at second and Fiedler will be at first. So the tying run will move into scoring position, and the potential now go-ahead run is on base for the Hornets as they trail 5-4 here in the bottom of the 7th. Coach Spots is going over the changes with the home plate umpire, and now he will make his way to the mound. He's not taking any chances with his junior lefty. He is taking him out. So while Bridgewater makes this call to the bullpen, we'll step aside again here on LHSN. Couple of defensive changes for Bridgewater here. They bring in Brett Tharp to pitch. He had been playing first base. So Tharp moves to the mound. His first pitch to Ryan Long, who's showing bunt and pulls it back and takes a strike. 0-1. Vanos is at second, Fiedler at first. He walked, and now taking over at first base is Isaiah Blanks, a sophomore out of Lynchburg. So he is now over at first. Tharp moves from first to the mound. If I'm not mistaken, that will mean that the Eagles are down to 9. They lose their DH. Here's a bunter up the third base side. Throw to first will be in time. The ball popped out of the mitt of Blanks, but the umpire over there says it was on the exchange from the glove hand to the throwing hand, so it isn't out, but it's a successful sacrifice for Ryan Long. Over to third goes Alvanos. He's the tying run, and the go-ahead run, Holden Fiedler, moves into scoring position. He's at second. And it's back to the top of the order for Lynchburg, and the right fielder, Parker Schaefer, now has an opportunity. Oh, there's going to be a pinch hitter instead. Avery Combs, senior from Lynchburg, will pinch hit here. Second and third, one out, and a strike in there from Tharp. Oh, 1. Driven well down the right field line, but foul. Combs jumped all over that, but he couldn't keep it fair. And strike 2. Combs on the season hitting .292. On base at .399. He has driven in 24. No home runs, but he does have 7 doubles. And a single here might just be enough to put Lynchburg on top for the first time today. Here's the 0-2 pitch. Bouncer to the right side. This will get the tying run in as Nevado tosses to first to get the out. But a productive out it is for Combs as he ties it up with an RBI bounce out. Ovano scores. Over to third goes Fiedler, and it's now 5-5. So we're no better than when we started 3 hours ago. Bridgewater was up 5-0, but that lead is now officially gone by the wayside, and an opportunity for Garrett Jackson to put his team on top for the first time today. Go ahead, run to third with 2 outs. Tharp delivers a strike. Well, that'll take Batchmore, the starting pitcher for Lynchburg, off the hook. He'll get a no decision. Outside, 1-1. Currently, of course, no pitchers of record in the tie game, but if Lynchburg was able to take the lead here, Berman, who's done so well for the Hornets out of the bullpen, could be in line for the win. And Jackson is hit by a pitch. Yet another Hornets batter hit by a pitch. That's the third one in the last 2 innings alone. And so now runners in the corners with 2 outs for Lynchburg. And Kinston Carson now has the opportunity to put the Hornets on top for the first time this afternoon. So far today, he has reached base all 4 times, although he's officially 0 for 2. He has pitch and hit into 2 fielders' choices. Driven in 1 run so far. Takes a strike here. He's also scored once. .342 average at the start of play today and a .447 on base. He has certainly helped that out so far. There's the strike 1 offering. Down and in near the back foot of the left-handed hitting center fielder. 1 ball and 1 strike. These teams both with 5 runs in very different ways. Eagles with 9 hits, Lynchburg with just 3. But they have drawn 8 walks, had 4 hit batters. Ground ball sharply to first. It goes right to Blanks, and he will step on the base to retire the side. But Lynchburg does tie it up. We'll head to the 8th inning as the sun comes out. All tied up at 5 here on Lynchburg Hornets Sports Network. To the top of the 8th we go. A brand new ball game as Lynchburg, with a run in the bottom of the 7th, has tied it up 5-5. That's the top of the order coming up for Bridgewater here in the 8th inning. Left fielder Jarrett Biesecker at the plate. He's 1 for 4. Singled and scored back in the 3rd. Thurman back to work for Lynchburg. 4 innings, 8 strikeouts, has not allowed a run. He has kept the team in it long enough where they have come back to tie it. Biesecker takes a strike now. A couple of defensive changes for Lynchburg. Parker Schaefer, after being lifted for the pinch hitter Combs, is out of the ball game. Combs was just into pinch hit. That one misses outside. 2 balls and a strike. The outfield alignment shifting slightly for Lynchburg as Carson Atkins comes into the game to play center field, and Kinston Carson goes from center field to right field. Pitch on the way is slapped foul out of play by Biesecker. Tharp and Snyder to follow. It's the top 3 in the Bridgewater order due up here in the top of the 8th inning. Payoff to the left side, deep in the hole at short, off balance throw, not going to be in time, or is it? Looked like for all the world there was going to be no chance to get the speedy Biesecker at first, but they did just get him. Ryan Long with a terrific play, off balance throw deep in the hole at short, and just out of frame, the umpire says he is out at first base. Keep the speedy Biesecker off the base path. That's a huge out to keep the speedy Biesecker off the base path for Bridgewater. And 1 up and 1 down here in the top of the 8th. 0 for 1 is Tharp, who's now the pitcher. They're coming in to pitch in the bottom of the inning. Could not hold back on the check swing, strike 1. Has walked twice, dropped down a sacrifice, and then struck out. Back in the first inning after drawing a walk, he scored the first run of the game. And he swings and misses 0-2. Grayson Thurman has been absolutely outstanding out of the bullpen. For Lynchburg today, he has tied his season high with 8 strikeouts. And 8 strikeouts at Virginia Wesleyan in 5 2/3, and there is now a new season high as he gets Tharp swinging. Number 9 of the afternoon, 2 away in the top of the 8th. And now Jeffrey Snyder, who Lynchburg has not been able to solve today, will come to the plate for his 5th plate appearance. He has walked, tripled, and singled twice. 1 run scored, 1 RBI. That one bounced up and it looked like it caught Fiedler after bouncing. Sheds the mask for a moment and gets on one knee to try to shake off that one. After that strikeout, Thurman, he's now retired 6 Eagles in a row, which is the longest string by a pitcher on either side today. Is now some of the staff coming on to check on Holden Fiedler. The junior catcher for the Hornets. And try to walk it off behind home plate. Snyder was 2 for 7 yesterday, with both of his hits coming in Bridgewater's 8-5 win in Game 2. So really, it's been the last 2 games after getting him to go 0 for 3 in Game 1, where Snyder has all of a sudden found the hot bat. As I mentioned, he's reached all 4 of his previous trips today. Fiedler, thankfully, okay to continue, and now Thurman will ask for and receive a new baseball, so time is briefly called. Looking to make it back-to-back 1-2-3 innings is Thurman after getting a ground out to short on a terrific play by Ryan Long and then a strikeout to start the inning. It's now 1-1 on Snyder as he evens the count with a strike on the outer part of the plate. Looking ahead to the bottom of the 8th inning. Be the middle third of the lineup due up for Lynchburg. Neves, Lane, and Collins. Swing and a miss by Snyder, 1-2. So a good opportunity for Lynchburg if they are able to keep Bridgewater off the board here on the top of the 8th to finally overtake the Eagles. They were down 5-0 after 2.5. 1-2 pitch. Bouncer to the right side. That'll go foul. And will remain 1-2 on the Bridgewater shortstop. Jeffrey Snyder, a sophomore from Reisterstown, Maryland. Another 1-2 pitch plateward. Sinks down out of the zone. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Now the count. Pretty much straight up defensively for Lynchburg. Shortstop long shaded hair or 2 up the middle. Another one low, and now Snyder has fought his way back into the count. It is now full. Nevado, the second baseman and cleanup hitter, would be next if Snyder is able to reach yet again to keep the top of the 8th inning going for the Bridgewater Eagles. Payoff just outside. Several of the Lynchburg defenders took a couple of steps toward the dugout thinking it was the 10th strikeout for their right-hander. But instead it is the second walk that Grayson Thurman has issued since coming on. He's so far worked 4 2/3 innings out of the Hornets' pen. He's the 4th pitcher used by Lucas Jones, and he has certainly been the most effective. Well, that's not necessarily fair to Doffelmeyer, who struck out the only batter he faced. His close play on a pickoff at first. Back in there with a head first slide is Snyder. He did steal a base after singling in his last trip. He's 18 out of 21 in steals, and you might think that he would be trying to steal here to get into scoring position. 2 outs as Bridgewater attempts to try and regain the lead. And he draws yet another throw over to first base. Nevado at the plate is 1 for 4. He tripled and scored back in the 3rd. Drove in a run with that 3-bagger as well. He's also hit into a fielder's choice, popped up and struck out. And he takes strike 1. Snyder bluffed over at first, but held firm. Bridgewater has not scored since their 4-run 3rd. They're up 5-0 at that point. Slowly but surely, Lynchburg has worked their way back into it. Throw over, back in, standing up is Snyder. But Bridgewater was 1 in the 1st and then that 4-run 3rd, and 4-0. Lynchburg got 2 right back in the bottom of the 3rd, 1 in the 4th, 1 in the 6th, and then just tied it with 1 in the bottom of the 7th. A 1-runner takes off. He'll get in there easily. That pitch almost hit Nevado. Able to get out of the way, but Fiedler couldn't handle it cleanly. I'm not so sure that he would have had much of a chance to throw out Snyder anyway, who had a good jump. So it is the 2nd stolen base of the afternoon for Snyder and 19th of the season. Nevado now a chance with a single perhaps to put his team back on top. Senior out of Harrisonburg, Virginia, waiting on a 1-1 pitch from fellow senior Grayson Thurman. Time call. Thurman deals. Up and in again. 2 balls and a strike. On Nevado, 30 runs batted in this season for Nevado. Tops on the club. 1 more here. Could extend Bridgewater's season into championship weekend. Here's the 2-1. Drops right in there for a strike. Good pitch there by Thurman. 2 balls and 2 strikes. And now he's a strikeout away from getting his team back into the dugout tied and with a chance on their side to take the lead and hence extend their season into championship weekend, with Shenandoah waiting in the wings next Saturday. 2-2. Got him. Threw it right by him. The fastball. There's the double-digit strikeout for Thurman as he rings up his 10th, and Snyder is stranded at second base. Going to the bottom of the 8th. Deadlocked at 5 on LHSN. Bottom of the 8th, middle third of the lineup coming up for the Lynchburg Hornets. All even at 5 with the Bridgewater Eagles. I'm now here with you in this decisive Game 3 of the semifinal series between the 2-seeded Lynchburg Hornets and the 6-seeded Bridgewater Eagles. Yesterday, Lynchburg winning 14-0 in Game 1. Bridgewater storming back to win Game 2, 8-5. First pitch of the bottom of the 8th inning is a called strike to Avery Neves, left fielder. 0 for 2 with 2 walks. Brett Tharp started the game as the first baseman. Now on as the fourth pitcher for Bridgewater today. Just outside with a strike one pitch, and now the 1-1 is coming. Fouled off right at the plate. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Tharp was able to keep Lynchburg from taking the lead, although they did tie it up. This one is grounded slowly back up the middle, and that one's going to find green grass out in center field. Go-ahead run on first base in the form of Avery Neves as he picks up his first hit on for the 3rd time. Single was just the 4th hit for Lynchburg. But as I've mentioned several times, they've drawn plenty of walks and haven't had several players hit by well. So they've had plenty of base runners. And speaking of hit by pitches, Cameron Lane will come to the plate. He was hit by a pitch with the bases loaded his last trip to drive in the run, which got Lynchburg within 1 at 5-4. They then tied it up last inning on an RBI groundout as Neves takes off with the pitch, and he is going to be safe at second. Avery Neves now is the go-ahead run in scoring position after a leadoff single up the middle and then his 20 in 25 chances this year. So what could potentially be a winning run is now at second. 0 for 3 for Lane. He has reached on an error, struck out, grounded out, and then that bases loaded hit by a pitch, which produced his 20th RBI of the year. Over at first, Blanks is even with the edge of the cutout. Same for Carlson at third as they expect a bunt now. Here comes the pitch from Tharp. No sign of a bunt. In fact, swinging away. And coming up empty is Lane. Ball and a strike. Still thinking with just 1 strike that there's a possibility of the bunt. Both corners pinch in, and he does show bunt. And bunts it foul right at the plate. 1 ball and 2 strikes. So now with the 2nd strike, would think that the bunt might be off, but you never know. Tharp has a look back at the runner at second, who's edging off slowly. 1-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. And down goes Cameron Lane. 2nd time today that he has struck out. Brett Tharp picks up his first strikeout on the hill. 1 away in the bottom of the 8th. And now Gavin Collins will come to the plate. He already has a couple of hits today. It's been feast or famine for Collins. A 2-run single, a double, surrounded by a couple of strikeouts. So he's 2 for 4. Takes ball 1. Tharp making just his 3rd appearance on the mound this season. He's primarily been used in an offensive role. This one is outside, 2 balls and no strikes. In fact, his last outing was an inning and a third of work last weekend at Roanoke. Ended up getting the win in relief. 3 walks, a couple of strikeouts in that outing, but it was only his second outing of the year as he delivers a strike 2 and 1. Overall this year, he's given up 4 hits and 3 runs, 2 of them earned in 2 innings with 3 walks and 3 strikeouts. There's the junior. Here's the 2-1 pitch upcoming to Collins. Hammer it out into field. And making the catch. Or excuse me, catching it on a hop, I should say, is the center. So a line drive single. Stopping at third is Neves, making sure. He had to make sure that it fell in before advancing. And so the go-ahead run moves over to third. There's runners on the corners with 1 out. PJ Alvanos, the scheduled hitter for Lynchburg, 0 for 2 with a couple of groundouts. He has walked twice and scored a run. A chance to for the first time today. Strike 1. Good pitch there by Brett Tharp. So Gavin Collins with that knock. That's his 3rd hit of the game. He has 3 of the 5 for Lynchburg. And 2 of those 5 have come this inning. Neves, who's over at third, started the inning with a single, stole second, then just moved to third on that Collins single. This one is sent out into left, but it'll be foul. The left fielder, Biesecker, was giving chase, but ran out of room. 0-2, the count on Alvanos. "28 runs batted in this season for the junior. Number 29, if it happens here, would give his team its first lead of the game. Strike 2 pitch. And field line. That one's going to put the Hornets on top. In to score is Neves, trying to score all the way from first and getting in there safely is Collins. Alvanos is thrown out trying to stretch it into a triple, but he probably will not mind that one bit as he delivers a 2-run double down the right field line. And Lynchburg, for the first time today, is on top 7-5. RBIs 29 and 30 for PJ Alvanos. Now the bases will be empty with 2 outs. The catcher holding for 2 and a couple of walks. So Lynchburg has the lead. They have come all the way back from down 5-0 after 2.5 innings. Fiedler fouls one back for strike 1. It was Alvanos who was at the plate yesterday representing the tying run and was struck out. 1 day later, he comes through with the go-ahead hit in the bottom of the 8th. That's going to be an infield single. Or rather, it did trickle into the outfield. Snyder thought he knocked it down at short, but it did just sneak under his glove. A 2-out single for Fiedler. All these bats have really woken up. 4 hits in the inning. 4 of their 7. And Ryan Long now with 2 outs and 1 aboard. Let's see if the Hornets can tack on even more now to what is a 2-run lead. Tharp delivers. Fouled away. Strike one. Clever, the right fielder was giving chase, but ran out of room down that. Looking ahead to the top of the ninth, with the 5, 6, 7 spots. Hartman, the DH, was initially in the 5 spot, but Bridgewater dropped down to 9 when they had their first baseman Tharp come in to pitch. Blanks came in to play first base in that spot in the order. He will be due up as this one will be taken by Tharp himself. He's out, and so are the Hornets, but not before Lynchburg gets a 2-run double from PJ Alvanos, and they will head to the ninth, leading 7-5 here. Lynchburg with its lead for the first time today, 7-5 as we go to the ninth inning. Just 3 outs to go for the Hornets as they try to reach the Conference Championship Series next weekend against 4-seeded Shenandoah. First pitch is a strike. Digging in is sophomore Isaiah Blanks out of Lynchburg. For his first at-bat of the game, he came in when they moved Tharp from first base to the mound. Quickly strike 2 on Isaiah Blanks. Came in hitting 196 this season. Here's the 0-2 pitch. Bounces up, 1 ball and 2 strikes. 10 strikeouts for Grayson Thurman through 5 innings of relief work, and he is still out there trying to get the final 3 outs and punch his team's ticket to the championship series next weekend. It'll be the first time since 2012 that Lynchburg has gotten there. It was a swing and a miss. Blanks is strikeout victim number 11 for Grayson Thurman. 2012 was the last time, not only that Lynchburg made the championship series, but the last time they won it. They're 2 outs away from getting there again. Kyle Carlson at the dish. First pitch strike. 1 for 4 for Carlson, 3 strikeouts and a single. He singled and scored back in the 4-run third. 0-1 on the way. Caught on a miss, strike 2. Grayson Thurman has been predominantly unhittable since coming out of the bullpen. He was the 4th pitcher used by Lynchburg, and that was certainly the right button to push for Coach Jones. That was in the dirt, checked the swing, did not go around. 1 ball and 2 strikes. He's allowed 3 hits and 2 walks since coming on, but no runs, and he's struck out 11 And it's 2 outs away from his team advancing. 1-2. Check swing again. And again, just able to hold up is Carlson. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Waiting on deck, Jacob Grable. Hoping that he is not the final chance for the Eagles in this one. 2-2. Driven out towards short. Playing on the nice big hop is Long. Fires to first. 2 away. So 1 out left to get for Lynchburg. Jacob Grable, 0 for 4, 3 strikeouts and a fielder's choice for the Eagles center fielder here. Strike 1 pitch, or the first pitch I should say is strike 1. He's thrown strike 1 so often, just kind of assumed it was going to be a strike. Here's the 0-1. Strike 2, another swing and a miss by a Bridgewater hitter. Plenty of those. And Bridgewater is down to their final strike. Lynchburg 7, Bridgewater 5. It was 5-0 early on. Lynchburg has rallied all the way back. 0-2 on the way. Fouled off. One thing Grayson Thurman might need to work on for next weekend, should he get this last out here, is finding a cap that he can keep on his head. He has had some issues. That cap falling off several times this afternoon. 0-2 is on its way again. A little dribbler right in front of the plate, throw to first, and that is it. Holden Fiedler tosses to Garrett Jackson, a 1-2-3 9th inning, and Lynchburg survives the upset bid from the Bridgewater Eagles and wins this winner-take-all Game 3, 7-5. An absolutely outstanding effort out of the bullpen by Grayson Thurman, the senior. He strikes out 12 and shuts out Bridgewater in 6 innings of work. It didn't look so good for Lynchburg early on. They gave up a run in the first and then 4 more in the third. They were down 5-0 after 2.5, but they just slowly but surely chipped away. They got a 2-run single in the third from Gavin Collins to make it 5-2. Another run in the fourth got them within 2. In the sixth, Cameron Lane was hit by a pitch with the bases loaded. RBI bounce out by Parker Schaefer, or rather by Combs as a pinch hitter, and the 7th tied it up. And then a 2-run double by P.J. Alvanos in the bottom of the 8th inning is the game-winning hit for Lynchburg. As you can see, the final line score there, 7 runs on 7 hits with 2 errors for the Hornets, 5 runs on 9 hits with 2 errors for the Eagles. 4 of those 7 hits for Lynchburg came in that 2-run 8th inning. That proved to be the difference. They will advance to take on 4-seed Shenandoah next weekend in the championship series. Again, best out of 3. So Lynchburg improves to 32-12 and 21-2 at home. Bridgewater sees its season come to an end at 14-15 here in 2021. Thanks so much for tuning in, and thanks to all the folks who helped make this broadcast possible. I was happy to fill in here on the Lynchburg Hornets Sports Network. But again, the final here today, Lynchburg 7, Bridgewater 5. The Hornets move on to championship weekend. So long from Fox Field.